Hello and welcome to the stream. And yeah, I kind of messed up something. With me today, as always, is Lothar. So let me switch right over, and then I'm going to talk about what we were talking about. Let me get Lothar in here as well. Highly professional today. Hi, Lothar.
Hi, Triton. Hi, everyone.
So yeah, why don't I have my mic actually active over there? I need to fix that another time. Anyway, so the topic today will be what you can see in the background, the Steam Deck, and maybe a bit about Space Part 2, but I guess it's mostly,
I guess it's going to be the next month.
yeah, yeah, I guess so as well.
Thank you, Alf.
Yeah, so yeah, Valve just came up with the Steam Deck, which is a new upcoming mobile console, or better mobile PC. Um, it will
Yeah,
run,
it's definitely more like mobile PC than mobile console.
yeah, yeah,
Specifically, if you look at how it used to be Steam Machine, when they basically put a PC into a freaking
box.
into a box and called it a console.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, the Steam Deck is kinda the end product of a few tries of Valve getting in the computer area, like the Steam machines back in the day, then the Steam Link, and this combines those machines or those devices in one basically. Um, I've watched a few
They still
videos.
get some stupid things from Steam controller in there, but not what that used to be sensor discs instead of buttons.
Yeah, actually, the video I watched earlier, a hands-on video with this thing, um, you can look around either with the right stick, for example, in Doom, or you can use the touchpad. So it's either or if you want to. And I think the touchpad is mostly used for um, the um, the keyboard, the virtual keyboard, if you don't want to use the touch screen for it. So I guess that's a bit like a mouse trackpad
Oh yeah.
from a laptop. Forgetters, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Derp site, and hello and welcome to our podcast stream discussional thingy. Number 24, by the way, I didn't mention that earlier. Um, so yeah, I mean, I used to wait. I have some devices here, some mobile devices. Um, Back in the day, we had this here. I have to see how to position it because I don't want to mirror everything in my room. So all you
God
see
damn it!
is,
I need to take my. I was supposed to take my PSP.
yeah, I mean, you can get that later, I guess. So this is a
Yeah, you know why
3DS.
this is impossible. I need to get behind this shit.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so yeah, 3DS. You have two displays. You have 3D, real 3D capability without the need of glasses or anything. I personally really liked it. I had no problem with the 3D, so I'm kinda disappointed that it died. So it's not on the Switch anymore. But that's one thing that I consider a mobile device. In really not too many circumstances, I would use my phone or a tablet. When I was in the hospital, for example, for a few days, I was happy that I had my laptop with me and my humble bundle library, my mobile library. And there are a bunch of really, really good games, not just your cheap, I don't know, Candy Crush or other free games that you can play, which are pretty much all the same and crap, like those
And
tactical.
spend a lot of money for additional moves.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, yeah, exactly. Like those strategy games where you build up some bases and fight in battles that you cannot do anything in really, and it's I don't know. I've did a few promotions for those things. I was supposed to do some um, advertising for that as well in German, but it's just it's just not my world. I don't it's as much fun as clicker games for me. Um, so yeah, but there are really good mobile games as well. Um,
Again,
like
Genshin Impact is a good example. And what is the Genshin Impact? Basically, predecessor of Genshin Impact. Same developer.
yeah, I mean there are good games as well, but just looking at the PC games that I can play mobile, which were the games that were from Humble, like I don't know, Tomb Raider and stuff like that. Yeah, they're all fine. But I'm not the biggest fan to play on a phone because of the controls, obviously. So one thing that's really cool is Game Pass, where you can use xCloud, so you can play Xbox games on your phone using a Bluetooth controller. Um, that's yeah, exactly. You need that and your phone, which both are not too big together. The size of the Steam Deck is huge. So you definitely need a backpack with you uh, to be able to carry that. There are mobile devices, and we will show a few of those that you can actually put in your pocket. I mean, yeah, they're still huge. For me personally, this size of a phone is totally fine. That's the maximum I need. I can put that in any pocket that I have on my body, basically. Um, and anything else is just getting bulky as fuck. And this thing, the Steam Deck, is by far compared to any other mobile PC out there at the moment, like the IO Neo or something like that, is huge. It's pretty much double as thick as the Switch. So the height of the controllers on the Switch is maybe this, and on the Steam Deck it's like this. So and you get it with a bag, with a carrying bag, I think.
In
And
defense of Steam Deck, Switch Joy-Cons are really not comfortable to use. They really thin for me.
yeah, I think that's the main problem for me as well, the size of it. The size from the Steam Deck to play games on it is awesome. The controllers and how you hold it with those um, with the bigger parts on the back and stuff. I think just from looking at it and looking at videos from hands-on tests, it does look definitely the most comfortable of all of those mobile devices. By far, definitely. You have four buttons on the back, which also not one device uses, as far as I know. Um, and
As far as I know, they're supposed to be programmable buttons.
yeah,
Basically, what you need, they do.
that's the next thing. You can program as you want them. The rest is basic Xbox 360 loadout, setup or
Layout.
loadout or layout, yeah. And yeah, so I'm not sure if I really would take that on a commute ride in a bus or train or something like that. If I would go on vacation somewhere, yeah, then it might be a good idea. Because then you have your full PC with you. You don't need a laptop or anything like that. Um, then it might be okay if you are somewhere, I don't know, on the beach or something. Yeah, sure, why not? But as a commuter thing for somebody driving to school or to work, I just think it's impractical. It is that wide. I mean, it is.
Well, it's basically a freaking. I know that it's really stretched word, but still, it's basically a pocket PC.
Yeah, it is a pocket PC.
As
Melted
far as
melted
far
with a
as fun of
360 controller.
Yeah. As far as Valve concerned, you basically can install Windows, and that's a thing.
You can install Windows on it, but you should not think about that when you buy the cheapest version with the 64 gigabyte, because Windows
Yeah.
Linus Tech showed in another video how much the base installation of Windows 10 on one of those mobile devices was, and it was around 30 gigabytes, which is kind of crazy because for somebody like me, I can install Windows with 20 gigabytes or so, but you have to know what to install and deinstall, which services to run, and stuff like that. Limit your virtual disk and things like that. But yeah, you can install Windows on that. I mean, it is a PC with PC hardware. You have 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is, from what I saw so far, pretty much the most RAM you can get. The Switch has around 4 gigabytes, but the Switch is also,
Well, 60 gigs of RAM is basically more than enough for builds.
oh yeah, that's definitely enough for any game. I mean, more is better, but the standard is basically 8 gigabytes these days. And 16 will be the next standard, but I think maybe next year or so. But you already feel in games that when you have less than 16 and Windows running and maybe a few programs in the back, yeah, 16 is more fun. And I have 32, so yeah, I have not much issues with RAM on my end. Um,
I have 16, but again, it's the same thing. I'm feeling like I don't need it.
yeah, I only have 32 because it was a price thing. I already had 16 before, so the upgrade was
Mhm.
not that much, so I only needed 16 more. I have 16 in my stream PC. Definitely more than enough. You don't need more. So that's okay. The RAM they chose for the Steam Deck is a good choice. The 64 gigabytes is definitely stupid. That's just it's if you
Yeah,
it,
if we're talking about the basically flash memory that they used in that thing, 64 gigs is, well, let's just say it's not enough.
you
Allegedly, this shit are supposed to work with micro SD, like treat micro SD like it's a freaking
yeah
M2
it,
SSD.
it's almost from what I saw in that video earlier, it's almost on par with an SSD if you have a really fast SD card. And yes,
Basically,
that's supported.
red sun disk.
Yeah, 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 I guess that would be my choice anyway. I chose those years ago, so I might go for those again. Um, but yeah, so you're not limited on that space. You can upgrade
Well,
it with a
actually,
SD
kind
card.
of limited. As far as rumors go, it's supposed to be up to 512 gigs. I
Yeah, but
don't
you can
know
just
if
buy
it's
as many
going
as
to
you
work with
yeah, you can buy as many as
more or
you
not.
want, and there's not one game that needs 500 gig anyway. So you're unlimited
First, true.
when
Second, it's freaking SanDisk Red. This shit is expensive.
hey, if you opt for the 64 gigabyte, I mean, then you have to invest on another end. But
Yeah, true.
my thought is the 64 only, I think, only makes sense for somebody who wants to mainly use it at home. To maybe, and that's supposed to work as well as it seems. To use your game PC to stream to this thing internally. So it's basically your handheld Link, Steam Link. If that works, yeah, then the 64 gig is okay for at-home use. If you just want to chill on the balcony or outside or something, but you're not too far away from your real PC. Um, but if you want to use it as a PC replacement, maybe, or laptop replacement, because you can attach monitors, you can attach mouse and everything, um, And the use of a mouse is actually more practical than the stuff that is built in. So if
Yeah,
I
speaking about stuff that build in, but yeah, I think we'll go to basically that unholy union of Pocket PC and Xbox controller a little bit later. So yeah, I have something to say about those things.
yeah, no, go ahead. We don't really have a list we have to go down. I guess we're just talking about our opinions, a bit of background info of the thing, but mostly what we think about it, I guess. So go ahead.
Yeah, okay. About that unholy union, basically the picture will happen if Xbox controller will fuck your PC. So again, I'm more confused about those things. I think you've seen the appeal that you can control camera with right stick, trackpads, and basically with built-in gyro.
Yeah, that's another thing they don't really promote that much. I'm not sure if
I
I
have an idea why. Tell me, how often do you hold these things and not shake it around?
yeah, there is no use for that on PC really. You could use a
I
Wii
mean,
mode.
you're still unintentionally shaking this shit around, especially if you're getting frustrated and something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me, what will happen if you just got a perfect headshot and you just slightly tilted?
I don't know enough about how it
You're
actually.
supposed to miss that shit, because I think in IGN video when they showed it around, it basically responded to gyro responded even on smaller moves. So you basically get in a headshot, you tilt in the console, and you swing away.
Yeah, but then there needs to be a setting or so to deactivate gyroscope or something, because otherwise, if you will not be able to hold that thing still. I mean, you just if you use the buttons, you might just move it a few millimeters, and if that's enough already to move your view in the game, you're always readjusting the crosshair. So I guess it's either or. So either you're really using the gyroscope controls, and I think they might make sense for race games only. For other games, uh, yeah, I see the use maybe for some binocular mode or something like that, where it maybe makes sense to have a bit more of a realistic feel to it. But I already wasn't a fan on the 3DS with that. That also has gyroscopic stuff, and it kinda makes sense in the 3DS because you have to aim at things. But nah, it's and you have cameras. You have external cameras on the 3DS. You don't have one camera on this thing, which is actually the thing that's surprising me the most. There is no freaking camera on that thing, so you cannot do video chats. You cannot film something that you're seeing while maybe streaming, which would be possible on that thing to stream.
As far as I know, it's supposed to have a built-in mic.
Yeah. It has, as far as I know, two mics. You see them on the top of the display. I think in that animation you only see it. Here's one, and another one is on the other side. So you have two mics included. That's already pretty good. So I guess the audio quality might not be too bad. That's the speaker system up here, as far as I know.
Well,
Although
it basically should be.
I could be wrong though. No, those are the speakers down there. That top part is also part of the cooling. The CPO might be around here. I've seen uh, those temperature videos. No, that's not the thermal videos, the temperature videos. Hey, let's do a temperature video. Hey, what? No, the thermal videos. Yeah, so it gets warmer on the right side of the device than on the left side.
Well, basically when you can see a ventilation grid.
Yeah, that's here. But the hottest part is here and to the middle top part. So I guess that will be the how do you call it? Heatsink
It,
system that goes through there.
there might be RAM or something like that.
I don't know. I also saw in that other video from Linus Tech. Thanks for that. um, that the new version of the IO Neo will get a better cooling fan and will get a bit changed. But in general, the Steam Deck is much cooler than the other devices, but it's also the biggest. So um, the fact that you have 3 centimeters or so where you hold it, I mean, there's nothing that's warm behind that really. So it's definitely colder to the touch than the other devices, which definitely get
Well, if you're
warmer.
going to touch a freaking touch screen, you definitely will feel the heat.
Oh yeah, then you will definitely more to the right side though. Left side is a bit cooler, but how often will you use the touch on it? That's the thing. If you
If
want to
you're
type
going to
something,
type something, then yeah, you're going to
yeah,
use that thing.
yeah, and that's something, and that's the one thing that personally annoys me the most when you want to have a PC replacement. There's one device that you can basically slide open and you have a real physical keyboard underneath the display. The whole device is much smaller than a Steam Deck though, but
Oh,
also,
you mean all those old Nokia PC, phones?
yeah, it's the wait, let me see, let me check.
Oh yeah, LG have kind of similar things right now.
That was not that. That was not that. That is not that. Damn it. uh, wait, let me get that on the other side and look for it here. I have a bunch of links open. Um, that's not it. That's not it. That's it.
Okay, back to my complaints about this gyroscope control. Let's give it a credit that it's not going to be as as sensitive as I'm saying. I mean, final product not going to be as sensitive as it seems in IGN video, but still, when you're frustrated, especially when you're frustrated, you're going to shake that thing, and you're definitely going to go beyond that zone, and it's going to definitely affect shit.
Yeah, but if you're shaking it like that, you're not looking at the display and you don't care where you're looking in the game. So I think that's not really the issue. I see more the issue while you're playing a game like Doom or something, which needs fast reactions. So you have to turn a lot with the sticks and stuff like that. So you will definitely move the device. There is no way that you can hold it 100% still. And depending on how sensitive the gyroscope is, and if you can activate it or deactivate it, that I don't know about that. Um, so that might affect gameplay maybe.
And one more thing about that gyroscope. What will happen to that thing if you will install Linux or Windows? Will it react at all, or it will become just an unused feature that you can't at all activate?
I think there will be certain drivers for that. That's one thing, and um,
We're talking about Valve, don't forget about it.
yeah, I know. um, but gyroscope is kinda um, simulating mouse movement, I would say. the closest when it comes to some device like that. So I guess, yeah, I have no idea if they are built in. Uh, I mean, you do have gyroscope in tablets that run on Windows 10 as well. So it might be
Yes,
just
true.
included in the Windows 10 driver set. So that might be just a thing because there are tablet capabilities, there are GPS and gyroscope capabilities in Windows 10, even on your desktop PC, which is completely useless. If I need somebody to find my PC, I need medical attention because my PC is at home. So why would I need some some stuff that tells me where my freaking PC is? I get it with laptops and tablets, but yeah, for a stationary desktop PC, it's a useless feature and it's installed by default, which for me personally never made any sense on Windows 10. But also one of those features that you can just deinstall. Um,
Well, it's basically one of the features that Microsoft made well, built in Windows 10 because they tried to create this unholy union of mobile, PC, and cloud.
And there's still a special Windows edition, a special Windows 10 edition for their Surface laptops, for example. A friend of mine might get one.
Overpriced shit.
Yeah, if you buy them new, yes. But friend of mine saw the Surface Pro 4 or something, the new one, um, which costs around 13 or 1400 when you want to get the pen and the keyboard for it. And he found one a month or two old for less than half the price. So around 700 bucks for a 13-inch um, tablet PC hybrid with the key, so you can draw on it and stuff. 700? That's a good price, and you can game on
Yeah.
that thing. 700 is perfect. I mean, the hardware quality of anything that I ever had in my life from Microsoft that was developed by Microsoft is freaking on another level. I mean, I have a gamepad here. I used that over 20 years ago and I could still use it. It looks similar to the 360 pad. It was a Sidewinder pad. Awesome. I had a Sidewinder keyboard for years. I smashed in it and everything. Never had any issue. The only issue it had, WASD, there was nothing on it anymore. The black was just gone. It was just glowing red on that part. But other than that, I had that for years without any issues. Not a mechanical one, but great stuff. So hardware of Microsoft is normally top notch. The joystick that I have is over 20 years old. Still works like
Can
a
you
charm.
remind me your opinion about Xbox One controller that you had somewhere about 1 year ago?
Yeah, but there's that something dropped on it. That was the problem, and I still didn't open it to see if I can fix it. So maybe it's just dislocated or something. Another 360 controller fell on the Xbox One controller from my desk and landed directly on the D-pad. So my D-pad works only in three directions now on that pad. Rest is totally fine. Um, but my 360 wired controller is as old as the 360 console, and it's split open. I smashed it in the ground so many times out of not out of rage. No, it just fell by accident. Um, but it works perfectly fine. I mean, there's no rubber on the sticks anymore. They are just gone. Um, that's a thing that's actually interesting on the Steam Deck. Those those caps kinda look replaceable.
I think they're supposed to have some kind of sensor under it. So they might not be.
Sensor for censoring if you even touch them, you mean?
Yep.
Why? To see what device you would use for the input?
I'm not. I'm not sure.
I mean, yeah, it kinda looks like there could be a sensor just from the
It might be related to gyroscope. I'm not sure.
well, the right stick and the right trackpad are active at all times. So you can use either or on the fly. There's no delay or anything. Um, but there's also no issue that you will be able to touch the trackpad below the stick with your hand or your thumb because the height of the stick is high enough. The height of the stick looks actually like from a regular 360 controller, which makes the thing so high. It's so huge. I mean the back or
You know, if it would be like stick on PlayStation Vita, for example, that would be a complete nightmare because of those face buttons and because of that trackpad.
yeah, sure. If you make them lower, then you would have the problem that you might get there with the lower part of your thumb or with your palm or something. But I think for and that's another point. For what age is that thing meant? Um, I see the Steam Deck mostly for adults. Children might have a problem reaching the sticks actually because this
I
thing
think
is
it's
huge.
also supposed to be a little bit overweight for a kid.
It's around 700 grams or something. Wait, I think they actually mentioned that here. It's not that heavy actually.
Hmm.
It looks rather heavy, but it's definitely less than a kilogram. But that will definitely be a problem for some people with disabilities who,
It's also still a problem for kids. For kids, I'm working with fishing goods, and every additional 10 grams going to turn into additional kilogram if you're going to hold this freaking fishing rod always in your hand.
hmm,
Every additional 10 grams is additional kilograms after 30 minutes or an hour, depends.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So this is definitely nothing for smaller children, where the Switch, for example, comes in. Um, so the size comparison of the Steam Deck to the Switch, you see the back part of the Steam Deck? Yeah, this is basically where you can fit the Switch in, including the Joy-Cons on the side. And it's half the height. So if you really
Funny thing is, they're supposed to be basically almost equal screen size.
yeah, screen size, but if you look to the side of the controllers, what is the N-joys? They're pretty much half the width of the side part of the Steam Deck. I mean, this part here, the Switch basically ends where the stick ends from the Steam Deck. So that's why it's smaller. The
And
display
again,
is
Joy-Cons
similar.
are really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think for somebody with my hands, and my hands are not tiny like somebody else's. Trump. um, yeah, yeah. I think for adults this is definitely more comfortable. Definitely, there's no question about it. But also the Switch is definitely better suited for children. So if you have smaller
Yeah.
children, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 or so, um, the
Actually,
the Steam
how
Deck is
true it
not a thing.
is.
And the really cool thing about the Switch, besides the fact that you can take the controllers off on the side, which makes it basically bigger than a phone, but still small enough to put in your freaking pocket. Switch in one
Almost
pocket.
300 grams.
How much?
Almost 300 grams.
For what, the Switch?
Yeah.
and the Steam Deck is 690 or so.
Almost more than twice
Yeah,
as heavy.
yeah. And you need to hold the Steam Deck. You don't need to hold the Switch. You can put the Switch on your table, take the joysticks off of it, and play with them in your hands, or play together, play a game that you can play with two people.
Well, let's not give a credit to Nintendo because of Switch Lite. Most stupid decision that they made.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
So, point that what's supposed to be plus for Nintendo, it's basically non-existent.
yeah, it's yeah. If you only want to, the problem for me, the problem I have with the Switch Lite, you cannot attach it to your TV anymore.
Also, drifting sticks drifting still a thing on Lite. If with normal Switch you can just buy new Joy-Cons, with Lite you don't have this privilege.
If you know, there's a saying we have here, and I guess that counts for the whole world. If you buy cheap, you buy twice. So if you want to have a
Yeah, we
Switch,
have basically the same thing.
yeah, if you want to play with a Switch, buy a real one. The Lite is, yeah, the Lite is really, the Lite is for people who want to play every now and then, not on a regular basis. If you're playing on a regular basis, you want to have better hardware and better accessoires. You can, yeah, I'm not sure if you can actually use that. Can you use the Switch Pro controller with the Lite? But anyway, like you said, you can just replace the joysticks if one of them is broken. You replace them. Um, but yeah, the light is stupid. I don't. The 3DS XL something something was also huge, and I was like, why?
New 3DS XL.
Yeah,
Great
it's
naming, Nintendo.
yeah, but let's stay with with the regular Switch because that's the concurrent product to the Steam Deck, not the
Yeah.
Lite. The Lite is just okay. We didn't talk about it. Anyway,
Okay. Back to again back to Nintendo Switch then, and the stuff that I said is not a point for not a plus for Nintendo, but still, if we just forget about existence of Switch Lite, this thing doesn't look like you can repair any buttons if something will go wrong.
on the Steam Deck,
Yep,
nope.
it's
You
basically a Switch Lite situation.
yeah, when you think about that, yeah. And if something like the sticks or something break, you have one thing that you can use, the Bluetooth or even a wired controller. So if your sticks or something or the buttons break, yeah, you can still use a controller. But then you have a freaking bulky mobile device and a controller that you need. So yeah, when it comes to that, yeah, definitely. If the controller, and that's the thing that's used the most on one of those devices, right? And
Yep.
even if the Switch might be less comfortable, um, if you play at home, you're not using the Enjoys. You're using a regular controller. Um, so it's really meant for being on the road. So you have to make them a bit smaller than you would want them at home. So yeah, but like I said, yeah, if one is broken, yeah, you replace one, and that's just the thing. You also have colors. I mean, might not be a huge thing for somebody, but um, you can individualize a Switch better than you can ever with a Steam Deck. Steam Deck just looks like it does.
Actually, yes, you can individualize your Switch if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean you have different colors of controllers that you can use, so that's already a thing. And yeah, it's much easier to attach different skins, for example, if you want that to change your color with a foil or something. I guess that's a bit more difficult on the Steam Deck, just from not just from the heat, but also the inlet and stuff like that. The next problem
Also,
with the Steam
yeah,
Deck,
the problem is basically ventilation system, all those programmable buttons, and also sensors on the front panel.
yeah, well, yeah,
There's a
okay,
lot
that's
of stuff that you can't
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, to cover the Steam Deck with something like that, yeah, no, I don't think anybody will bother with that. To come,
Somebody will buy them. Have
yeah,
you heard about
there will always be somebody who will mod anything.
did you heard about Russian producer of elite iPhone cases? I think the name is Kevin.
No, not really.
Every time when a new iPhone released, they do two things guarantee: gold cover and silver cover. Gold cover plate and silver cover plate.
Okay.
Guarantee.
Yeah, but it's easier to make a case or something for a phone to make it look completely different. I mean, this is not
First,
this.
true. Second, it's kinda seems strange when you consider glass on the backplate of the iPhone. You can damage that thing by that cover.
The, oh yeah, okay, that's pretty stupid. But the new iPhone is supposed to be better than all phones on the market. I just saw a marketing ad for that and I was like, oh god, okay. Didn't you tell us that for years already? Ceramic glass display now. We don't have any glass display anymore. No, no, no. The others only break. Yeah, I mean, they needed 12 iPhones to realize that their displays were absolute garbage. The
You
resolution,
know, I still
epic.
have people with whom I basically, just not fighting with them. That iPhone is overpriced as shit. And basically, this Xiaomi, for example, is much better
Yeah, I mean,
for
I,
money. And
I see the same, but I'm also not a fan of either iOS or the apps directly that you get from Apple and the restrictions and
eh,
stuff. So
let's just say it's just confusing. And there is currently there is a bill against Apple and Google monopoly on their platforms.
mhm.
So Apple is basically going to be Apple and Google basically going to be forced to allow users to choose between stores and not like Android Play Store, Apple App Store.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you cannot run Apple apps on Android and you cannot run Android apps on Apple. I
We're
mean, with
talking about
emulation or so.
politics. They don't think.
Yeah, I mean, that's like asking. Uh, I mean, okay, Linux is different anyway, but it, that would be like telling Microsoft, "Hey, you have to support Linux and Unix apps on Windows now."
It's kinda happening. It's already kinda happened in Windows 10, and it will be part of Windows 11.
Yeah, but I mean, forcing somebody to support something just because it's out there is completely nonsense. I mean, uh, you have two mobile. I mean, there are three operating systems, but one is not really out in the open for us. I guess it's mostly an Asian thing. Um, Huawei developed their own OS to get away from Android, but that's about it. What I know about it. Um,
As I know, we will get the system soon-ish.
yeah, but seriously, if you're a developer, if you're an app developer and you are kind of forced to make stuff work in both apps now as well, I mean, the developers will still choose where they go. It doesn't matter if Apple says, "Hey, we only run iOS apps," and Android says, "Oh, we only run Android apps," which is completely legit. I mean, huh? Why? I mean, if somebody wants an iPhone, I'm not sure if they would want Android to begin with. Otherwise, I mean, it's not like there are not similar phones for Android than iPhones, or better, like you said. Um, so that's completely stupid. I get it if somebody um, sues Microsoft, for example, or back in the day they were sued because they forced the Internet Explorer and all that kind of stuff with their monopoly and things. But you were still completely free to use whatever browser you wanted. So I seriously never understood that. Why would you force somebody to take that out? I mean, it's their freaking operating system. So they can basically decide what they want. If you don't want that, get Linux. Linux doesn't force you at all. You can choose several different distributions. Linux is mostly free, depending what distribution you buy. Um, so yeah, nobody forces anybody pretty much to just use Microsoft. If you don't want that, well, then don't use it. Get something else. Every PC runs with Linux.
I'm going to tell you something stupid. Have you heard about Yandex?
Yeah.
So basically, Yandex sued Google to make Google include Yandex programs in every Android phone sold in Russia.
Yeah, but can you not just install it? So they wanted to force Google to make it default
It's
in.
forced.
Oh, really?
Yep.
What I only know that as when you send me screenshots or something like that. Is it like Google Drive or something?
Uh, More specifically, the place where we sending you screenshots. Or yeah, basically, I'm sending you screenshots from Yandex Disk,
Yeah, yeah. So
and
it's
that's because I have 30 gigs there. And
yes,
I have 30 gigs there because I installed Android app, and logged in.
yeah, but it's basically Google Drive. That's that's it for those people who don't know what Yandex is.
What can you expect from cloud storage?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. I mean, we have. How do I phrase that? There are some countries who will always enforce their stuff, and there's no going around that. You're living in one country, and I know people in other countries, like yeah, Korea and China, for example.
Mm,
Chi-
if I'm going to talk in defense of China, that's stuff that they enforce. Yeah, okay, it's enforced. But
yeah,
stuff that they enforced, it's basically a replacement for programs that already was blocked for China by Western countries.
yeah. The thing that's
Those programs already didn't work in China or work com- completely bad.
the,
China basically just said, fuck you, we're not going to use whatever you left for us. We're going to develop our own maps with blackjack and
No, I mean
My swine.
more the internet censorship in China is kinda, if you if you censor the freedom of the internet for your people, you just you just prove that you have something to hide. So
They
it's
basically doing again. It's basically the same thing as with apps. So most of the internet already locked from China. China just said, "Fuck you, we're going to build our own internet with blackjack and rich swine."
yeah, I mean I think China is the country with the most use of VPN software.
Not most, but yeah, a lot.
Pretty much in the higher ranks, I guess.
Yeah, I think India will be upper than China, based on not stereotypical image of tech support.
No, I think China might be. I mean, in India they use VPNs to hide their IP because they're mostly scamming people outside of India. But VPN use in China is just to get over or through the censorship. But there is a lot of
Why you
VPN
need
blocked as
that?
well.
You already have a lot of resources that either copying what you can't get or just providing stuff that you need.
But anyway,
And
we are
by the way, officially,
we are so far away from our topic. We have never been further away from our fucking topic.
I can
Will
still dig deeper.
that's another point. This thing can be ordered in certain areas,
Not in Russia.
and I don't think in China. Just assuming. But I guess that might not be a thing for China. But I actually don't
It
know.
might get in China. How stupid it might, no matter how much stupid it might sound, but Valve want to be in China. Valve had Chinese localization. Valve has Chinese user base, and no matter if Valve blocked in China, Valve doing everything to be unblocked in China. Valve want to be in China.
Okay, I have to check something real quick. Let me see, because let me see. Can you actually still? Ah, you can still You can still. What did they talk about in the freaking video then? That you cannot pre-order it anymore? Yeah, you can still reserve it.
Uh,
You
it
can.
was complicated. Let me just repeat myself and say that this video is kind of old-ish. They used to take out of ability to resolve this thing, but they put it back shortly after.
Yeah, but I think if you reserve it now, you will not be able to order it as fast as the first bunch of people, I guess.
Yep.
But it's a good idea with the reserve, and you can only get one per account. So there will be a shit ton of fake accounts, but they also
Oh yeah,
you
there
do
is actually a lot more to that than just one per account. This account must be at least 6 months old, and
and
it
paid.
must have at least one paid game, and this paid game must be at least more than $10 worth.
Yeah, so scalpers do have to pay more money to get more than one device. But there will be
Also,
scalpers.
eBay already banned all of those
Yeah, now,
scammers.
now, now. But as soon as the
They
first,
did it basically almost instantly in eBay standards, basically in 2 days or
I
something
mean,
like
I
that.
mean now in general, because you are
Yeah,
not
okay.
allowed to offer something that is not existing. But as soon as this thing exists, trust me, there will be $1,000, $1,500, and $2,000 Steam Decks on eBay. And trust me, there will be people moron enough to pay that shit money before they would buy an actual ready mobile computer that you can buy now for already $1,000. No, they want a Steam Deck and want to pay some asshole twice or three times the price.
Basically, hello PlayStation 5,
Yeah,
hello
yeah,
Xbox X.
yeah. I mean, it's completely stupid. And the thing that pisses me off the most about that
Also,
fact,
30th series.
yeah, the thing that pisses me off the most about that fact is not really the scalpers. Yeah, they are assholes as well, but the morons who have enough money to buy a product that will be sold for regular price a few months later just because they can. How stupid do you have to get in
And
this world to make money?
and let's roll back to our talk from before space about semiconductors crisis. Have you heard that Toyota basically again stopped production of their cars because of shortage of component?
No.
So yeah, basically Toyota in Russia for sure, and I mean I think mainline as well, stopped the production of their cars, actually our cars as well. Not only Toyota feeling that shortage. Basically, you can look at availability of video cards and availability of modern consoles. Same PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So,
Yeah,
what people who know this shit talking about? Basically, people who produce semiconductors already started making a plan to pass this shortage. And to pass this shortage, they basically going to build new factories, they need new machinery, new people, and basically, if you think about it, people will just win from this because new places and stuff like that. But this process is fucking slow. Most fast process is going to take up to 5 years, and that just to build factories and buy new machinery. That not include workers.
see
Semiconductors crisis will end only in 10 years.
the thing is, a few years ago, there was also problem with the production um, PCB, which are basically the boards where main boards and graphics cards are made of. And there's one main area where that stuff is produced. And if anything with those factories happens, the world is fucked. And the another thing is the whole freaking world relies so much on China, for example, for products that if they really want to control the world, or if they wanted to control the world, like Trump says, they can just say, "Fuck you! You don't get your stuff anymore from us, not for
They're
the regular
basically
price."
controlling the freaking world.
Yeah,
Whatever China capital wants, give it to us or fuck yourself.
yeah, and then we're surprised if they I don't know, go on a strike or whatever, and we don't get shit anymore. So, I mean, we could work against that, but it's the same with climate change. Everybody's crying, and still we have cars with V8 and 8-liter motors in 2021 because, sure, we need that. Or freaking pickup trucks with dual wheels on the back. I mean, and we all want to have stuff cheap, but we also don't want to have children working or bad work areas in factories and stuff like that. But we still want to have everything from China, and then we cry about it's a low quality. Yeah, if you don't want to pay, you get cheap stuff. I mean, if it's not like just cheap or low quality stuff comes from China, they have high
I think
quality as
with
well, but
yeah, okay, okay.
yeah, no, they do have high quality. They can work on a high level, um, but that's not the reason why most companies go there. Most companies go there because they know that labor is cheap as fuck over there because they have bad areas to work in and shit hours and whatnot and low security and things like that. Um, but yeah, a lot of high quality products are made in China. You see, made in China.
Absolutely. China banned basically China affected the release schedule of iPhones because I think that was during iPhone 4 release or something like that. They basically when iPhone 4 during the release week or something like that of iPhone 4 factories that produce iPhone 4s mobilized additional resources to make those phones. And those human resources were used to be students.
Yeah, and a lot killed themselves
China's
because
university looked at that shit, said the word to China's government. China's government knocked into an Apple door, piece of wood, and said, "Go fuck yourself. Move your schedule."
yeah, but also that was after a bunch of people jumped out of the factory and killed themselves because the work was shit. But yeah, again, we are so
And
far off from our topic. Can we please get back to our topic? I don't want to make this another 3 hour stream. I want it to be done in 1.5 or maximum 2 hours. But that will be a problem for the Steam Deck as well. Chip production and things like that. The Steam Deck is not made yet. They're only production units or prototypes at the moment. So all the hands-on videos that you see are pre-production hardware. There is not
and
one
again, it's
production
not
kit.
just Valve who feeling that shortage. As I
Yeah,
said, car companies, manufacturers of graphic cards and whatnot, motherboard production,
everything,
cell phone
everything that
production, everything basic.
everything that uses chips or um, those PCB boards, and you need them. There is no. See, the West could just come up with a new technology for that or new material, but nobody freaking cares. And then we're like, oh, we don't
They
get
can
the
just
stuff.
build new factories.
But see, the next thing is shortage is in every area, and the shortage is mainly because of COVID and the world being morons, and still there are still people who are anti-vaccine, there are still people anti-mask, there are still non-believers about the pandemic, even though I don't know, around 2 million people worldwide died or something like that, 600 plus thousand only in the United States, and people still don't believe that shit going on, and that's another problem. I'm working as a bike mechanic on the side, and we already now have a problem. We don't have bike chains anymore. So if a customer from the street comes in with a broken chain, we are highly likely to send him away because we rather repair the chain of a customer who paid in our store for his bike before we give it to somebody who comes in once, gets a chain, and never comes back. So we have to choose the customer who gets chains soon. We're done. The chains we have are the chains we can get. The next will be coming in around 6 months or so. One of the reasons was,
Shipments from China.
yeah, the problem is, if you have a company who is shit, yeah, with a shit CEO, they do shit decisions. So
It's not that, basically, if we're talking about shipments from China. If we're talking about sea traffic, they have only two international ports working.
yeah, let me
There
finish.
used to be three. They closed one.
I get to that. So if you're an asshole who wants to be greedy and make a ton of money on everybody's back, basically, they fill up a freaking tanker with 3 times as many containers as allowed. I'm kind of happy that that thing didn't sink because that would have been a huge hit on nature.
Oh, you
So
mean that
yeah, in the Suez,
Suez Canal?
yeah, exactly. So first, you're a moron who overweights the ship like an insane amount. Then you go through an area where you have sonar and everything, and you exactly know where you're allowed to drive, which they either didn't care for, or the technology was not actual, or it was just so far down that there was no way to get through there. They tried it anyway. It's like a truck who sees oh, maximum height, let's say 4 meters. Oh, my truck is 4 meters and five. Oh, that's gonna fit. Then they try to go through a tunnel and oh, guess what? Those 5 centimeters are enough to block the whole fucking thing. We had that so often in a tunnel here in my town where you see huge signs. You even have signs that you would hit first before you go in the tunnel. You think they stopped? No, they just went for it. And the same with the tanker. The tanker blocked the Suez Canal for weeks, which blocked not just that tanker, which was full of material for Europe and for production of material. No, also all the other ones who behaved the right way, who only sent 1 or 2 ships loaded the regular way. That company who sent the overweight tanker, you know what I would do with that? That would not exist anymore. That would be done. They would be in jail. Everybody who worked on that ship that
You
day.
have really capitalistic thoughts, comrades.
No, that's just bullshit. In my society, shit like that would not happen. Same in different example, but in Germany, small companies had a problem to get money for COVID last year and this year. So they made it really hard for a small company and small businesses to survive. But a company like Lufthansa, who has billions of money, oh, they get more billions to save their company just for them to decide, oh, you know what? We're gonna kick out 10,000 people anyway, but thanks for your money. You know what I would do with a company like that who got billions to save their company and their employees? I would close them. They would be
We're really
sold.
going into a red zone.
No, yeah, that's just a thing that's not okay. You cannot take money and offer to keep all the employees. Then you take the money and then you kick out the employees. No, that company would be done. I would just close that. Communism feeling to it or not, that's not really the thing. It's just if you don't behave right, it's not okay to just get a fine on it. They don't care for fines. They have billions. How much do you
Well,
want to fine them?
well, if you have an additional hour or two after the show,
Oh,
I can try to explain how this is working, or just say try to read Marx and Engels.
I know how it's working, but it should not. You should first, you support the small ones who don't have money in the background. And if they are all saved, then you take care of those who don't need help because they have a shit ton of money on their own. So they don't
But if you
fucking need
help a
money.
big company, they can buy all those bankrupt small companies, and then big company will get even bigger.
And they don't even do
And
that.
let's get to the deck.
They don't even do that. But yeah, let's go back. So Yeah, I don't know where we ended, but yeah, let's just
Basically ended to that it's really okay, I'm going to say it in my words. It's really might be not that bad as we think right now, but I still have my doubts about that thing. But it's really unfortunate time, and specifically because we do have a lot of open questions like how that zone of gyroscope, how all those additional buttons and systems that build in Steam Deck, how those things will react if you install Linux or Windows or whatnot, and basically shortage of the components, and we have no idea how many of those units will be available.
yeah, the thing is, it will the first will come out soonest in a year from now. A year in computer technology and computer hardware is like a whole fucking generation. So
Well, it is now for all hacking generations. If we look back basically before Ryzen, it basically was almost a flat line.
now if you just look at graphic cards, for example, you normally get
I'm talking about CPU specifically. Thanks, Intel.
yeah, but it's CPUs. Yeah, they just get newer, better. But it's not like they change um, the whole freaking chips or whatever in that short amount of time sometimes. But that,
They did.
yeah, but
I
let's
looked at
just
the
look.
amount of sockets that Intel had and the amount of sockets that AMD had.
Well,
That was the
AMD
reason why I said, fuck you, Intel.
AMD didn't change AM4 for years.
Yep,
So
but they
I still can buy a chip that fits in my 2 or 3 year old mainboard without any problems.
again, and my motherboard is also a freaking cheap as a piece of technology. Let's say it like that.
Well, Intel changes their ports much more often than AMD does, at this point at
Yep,
least. Much more often.
and
Sometimes
and
one or twice a
okay,
year.
and my motherboard can support Ryzen's from basically first gen to third gen.
Yeah, downwards
Ryzen
compatibility.
5000 basically not an option for my motherboard because my chipset is too freaking old. And even if I will buy a motherboard with new chipset, the still will be ARM4. I still could use the same processor that I have right now.
And maybe even get more speed out of it just because the better and newer chipset.
Yep, and plus this motherboard basically will support more faster RAM and not just 2666.
Yeah, it's the same with my stream PC, for example. It's AM3 Plus, I think, and I started with a Phenom 2. Now I have an FX processor in it, but I still have another processor lying around. It's only a 6 core, but I'm only running my FX processor with 6 cores at the moment to keep down the heat a little bit because FX FX was the least efficient AMD CPU they ever produced, I think, and I got one. I got it gifted from somebody who used to be a friend. We're not friends anymore, and I
FX ending the friendship.
but now with the FX in and it's really not the most efficient, I'm like, was he trolling me back then already when he gifted me that to me? um, so yeah, but I have another CPU which is newer than the FX, and it still fits in that Stream PC motherboard. So I guess I might just try the other one. It's a bit lower end, but yeah. Anyway, back to the freaking topic. So we kind of get through it. So a few examples of other mobile PCs that are out there at the moment, and you can already see. No, you cannot because it's right in front of Lothar. The price tag for this thing, which is actually in my opinion a real mobile PC because you have a real keyboard included. Um, this one actually fits in your freaking front pocket of your jeans. This fits easily in the front pocket of a regular jeans. So, are you okay?
How much? Oh, 3 and 5. I'm moving my head from the price tag.
Oh, yeah. No, you could see that already. I moved it a bit. So yeah, it's 1300, which is yeah quite a price tag. But if you would pay a laptop with
You know, it's
six,
basically like with first MP3 players. I might shock some people. First MP3 players used to be a little bit overpriced. And then was iPod, iPod released.
which was also overpriced. That was
Yeah,
iPod
but
was really overpriced.
compared to first real MP3 players, iPod is basically half the price.
Yeah, but if you think like that,
Walkman basically was the first thing that dropped the price even lower than
if you
iPod.
if yeah, you cannot think like that. The first few consumer PCs, which were 286 or something like that, home PCs for over $15,000, which equals to around 30 to 40,000 today. Yeah, you want to compare that with a freaking 8 core from 2021 or 16 or 60 core or whatnot? That's not gonna work. So, but you can compare this price to a price for a laptop, which has equal
Yeah,
hardware, and then you're getting closer to that because you get a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, which already
well, it's 1 TB. Okay.
costs a bit. 16 gigabytes of RAM, an Intel i7 processor. So you get real laptop hardware in that little thing. You don't get equal hardware in the Steam Deck. I mean, 1 terabyte. There's not even a 1 terabyte option there, and there's
It's
no way
true.
to upgrade it.
And it's basically more compact than this thing.
Oh, it's much more compact. It's like at least a third smaller than the Steam Deck. The display, yes, the display is smaller as well, but we're talking about a mobile device that you're basically holding in your fucking face. It's not like you're trying to play it as far away from you as possible. So, I mean, we used to play with a 200 resolution on the Game Boy. It was big enough for us. Game Boy display is like this big, like a fourth or so or a sixth of this fucking display, which is 16 by
You can
9.
basically remember stuff like Sony Ericsson, what was that, 650, and those old Nokia phones. Like, I don't remember if A95 had games or not.
Yeah.
And those displays used to be even smaller.
Yeah, here some like that. That's a Sony Ericsson Cybershot with a really good camera in it. Don't ask me why that phone is lying here since 10 years. Yeah, seriously, don't. Just don't. That's my trash area over there that needs to be cleaned up finally. You want a phone? Does anybody want to have a freaking awesome Sony phone? No, it's not water resistant. No, it's not smartphone capable. No, you don't have touch screen, but you have a freaking stick. There's a stick on it, a joystick that you can press and move it. Actually, the one thing that was really awesome about the camera, you took it in your hand, you opened the slider from the lens, which actually physically protected the lens.
I forgot that those things used to be a thing.
Hey, you opened it with one finger, flop, camera was active, and boom, I could take a photo. Now I have to open my phone or unlock my phone, which is fast with fingerprint. But I have to go into the app loads, I have to go to video or photo. Until I take a shot, a quick shot with my freaking phone, it's gone. Like, oh, look at that animal over there. I have to take a picture of that. Oh, it's gone. With a cyber shot, flip, flip, done. It's a thing of a second. A few phones actually do support stuff like that. HTC had a function where you squished your phone together to take picture right away, basically. So you aimed and bam, you could take a picture. So some phones do support it better. Most don't. So the Switch does have a camera included. Does the Switch have a camera?
I think so.
It does, right? Because there is VR capability on the Switch as well, which is another
It
point.
has a VR capability.
So that's another thing. VR is possible on Switch. Yeah, try strapping that thing in your face. Oh, there have been some rumors about something with VR and eventually Index Mobile, which I was always saying since I saw this thing. I was like, why don't they develop a mobile VR system? They already have a VR system in the second generation. They have one, if not the best VR game out, which is Half-Life Alyx. They through the sensors, you don't have to hold the controller physically anymore. So the next step is not using a controller at all with a cam. So I think this might be one step in the direction of a mobile VR device. Because if this thing is working as they want it to work and expect it to work, it could be basically the basis of a mobile headset. Although looking at the size of the Steam Deck, how would you fit that technology in a freaking headset without making it really uncomfortable?
I think they're not going to even try to fit it in
I mean,
that thing. That thing might connect to headset via Type-C.
yeah, that would be one way to make the headset really, really cheap.
And that thing might be used as the controllers.
Yeah, okay, that could be a point in that combo, but then also not, because if you have a mobile device, you cannot use sensors around you that you have to locate somewhere. So you need some external sensoring with cameras in the headset. But there's nothing on the Steam Deck that would make it trackable. Normally,
Gyroscope.
no, that doesn't make it trackable. You have to know the location of something. With
Well,
the
yeah, if you're talking about walls and stuff like that, then yeah.
and for real VR, you need individual hands. VR, I mean, the Oculus started with this. I mean, not this, but Xbox One controller, and that was your VR control. Was fine at the beginning, but now nobody on this planet wants to hold that while playing VR. If you play a sitting racing VR game, okay, hey, yeah, sure, that's okay, that's totally fine. But other than that, no. If you want to play a real VR game, you need to be able to use your hands individually. So and then a mobile headset also makes you move around wherever you are, which means you have to strap that thing on your back if you want to use that as the PC that's used for rendering the VR. And I mean, um, with the dock, it supposedly supports up to 8K. How? I don't know, because
Stretching. Yeah, stretching. I saw the video when they talked about that 8K support. So basically, they stretching 720p.
Yeah, it's 800, but still, upscaled, upscaled always looks shit. Upscaled,
They might smooth it a little bit.
yeah, but
But yeah,
for
it's
that,
still the point still taken.
for upscaling, you need power in the GPU. So, the other devices on the market have 1080p native resolution. The Switch has 1080p native resolution, and
By the way, yeah, Switch have 1080p, while this a step lower.
yeah, it has lower native resolution, and yeah, why would I mean it supports 4K up to 120 hertz, but obviously with an external monitor because the built-in only supports 60, and some games might be locked to 30, which is I read a few comments and they're right. In 2021, 30 FPS is unacceptable. There is no there is absolutely no argument for 30 FPS today. Zero. Just to the only argument is to yeah, we cannot reach 60 constantly. Then you lock it to 30. But yeah, no, unacceptable. In 2021, if you release a new device today, it needs to support at least 60 FPS. I mean, we have monitors that go up to over 200. So 30 FPS is really not cutting the cake these days. It's just shit. I mean, it was okay back in the day, but eh. So I don't know. It's yeah, okay.
You
Yeah,
know what we didn't mention at all while we're talking about this thing?
hmm.
What was it? Proton? Yeah, Proton.
Yeah. We're kinda. I'm kinda aiming in that direction. kinda,
Okay,
kinda aiming. We kinda went off the track a little bit earlier. So yeah,
at
let's.
least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. So the one thing. Um, okay. So my opinion. The design of that thing of the Steam Deck is pretty good. So it is pretty perfect from the location of the buttons and all that kind of stuff. Again, for me, way too big to even make me even consider taking that on the bus or so. Um, but yeah, let's talk about the price, which at first might seem kinda high, but actually the price is the one thing that makes the Steam Deck better than pretty much all the other competitors. The others start somewhere around 699. Um,
If I'm going to look at Russian pricing for a laptop to buy basically a viable laptop, you're supposed to spend so again, what was that? 650. Yeah, you basically need to spend 650 euros to get at least viable laptop, or at least have an option to choose a viable laptop. At least that used to be half of the year ago. I'm not sure if this pricing is still uh, the same or not.
Here in
And it's
Germany,
basically the same price as upper end of Steam Deck. And if you buy the cheapest one and buy basically high-speed SanDisk, high-speed Transcend, high-speed Kingston, it's basically going to be a little bit cheaper.
yeah, I mean, laptops, you can get laptops with similar hardware, I guess, starting at around 400 or 500 or so here. If I would need a laptop now, not for gaming, yeah, it would be something around 400, 500 bucks or so. But
Yeah, for us it's basically 650 and not less.
you have normally around 15 inches the basic standard for most laptops, I would say. Something like that.
13. For our pricing is better basically 14 with full HD.
I was kind of surprised that Surface is only 13 inch, even as the laptop kind of variant. So that's kind of weird. For me personally, a laptop is 15 inch. Everything below that is kind of still a netbook. It's not really, but it depends, I guess. But let's just say the standard would be around 14 or 15, more 15, I guess. Anyway, about four times the size of the freaking Steam Deck. um, but if you close a laptop, I mean it's 1/6 or so the thickness. um, the speakers might also be better in a laptop because you have more size. You can exchange the disk
I
actually.
think in it might be a wild thought, but I really think that Steam Deck might have better speaker than most of the laptops, at least in that price category. I've heard speakers from the laptops, but I didn't hear the speakers from Steam Deck.
I mean, I know laptops with Harman Kardon speakers included. The Steam Deck will definitely 100% not sound like that. And the thing is, how good how good do the speakers of your phone sound? The smaller it gets, the shittier it sounds. My HTC that I used to have before my Pixel sounded so much better than my Pixel, like like really levels better. It had Beats audio and it was real stereo. Now, and I didn't know that when I bought it, I only have one speaker on that freaking phone, so it sounds more like a simulated stereo than real stereo. So the audio on my phone is it's not bad quality wise, but compared to my older phone, it's shit. Um,
Well, again, if you look at
but just
definitely can say about older models of Samsung laptops. Those speakers are basically trash. So, cheap to middle Samsung's laptops, at least 4 years ago, used to be trash.
yeah, I mean the speakers in a 3DS or in a Switch are also not really good, I think. I mean, the size is just the thing. The smaller you have to make something, that's the reason
Well,
why.
Samsung laptop used to be at least a little bit bigger than stuff like Vita or 3DS. But still,
I mean, the speakers in my
some of those things sounded a lot worse than handheld consoles.
from the laptops that I heard in my life, I mean, the quality wasn't really something I want to listen to for hours, but it wasn't that shit. So I have an HP laptop that I got from school years ago. The audio is okay. I mean, there's one thing, and you will not be able to get it in any speaker in a small size because it's just impossible, physically impossible. Bass. You're always missing
Yep,
bass. That's just it is
yeah, I
technically
know.
impossible. Um,
I know. Even in those Bluetooth columns, when you have
it
intense bass,
the thing
the thing
is
speaker might get a little bit overboard of himself.
the thing is there would be or there is technology where you can actually use a relatively flat but square area as speakers. There's a company, was years ago, who produced speakers that you could basically integrate in a car door without the door looking much different, but make it sound really insane. It was a compound material, and in between the two membranes you had like a honeycomb design kinda to make it a bit stiffer and stuff. I think Mercedes-Benz used it for the S class or something like that. Used to be really expensive in more the high end area, but thinking about that, if you would make a speaker that size, you could fit it on the back of a Switch, for example, and make it sound like a freaking high end speaker, including bass, including bass. So that would be a nice attachment for a case, you know, a case where you, okay, I have to get in touch with that company maybe. Brainstorming right on stream here, making ideas and profit for other companies. Anyway, back to this thing, so we can finally, we will not get to the 2 hour marks. This will be another 3 hour rant. Okay, anyway.
We basically need to talk about Proton and
Yeah, still getting there. But okay, the price tag is, when you compare it to the other options that you have, like this thing from Morton or GPD actually. This thing costs $1,300. For $1,300, you could also get a Surface Pro X, I think it is, with 13-inch display and the keyboard and a freaking pen to draw on it. If there would be a pen, if there would be a pen with the Steam Deck, god damn it, I hate that name. I hate them for the name. I use a Stream Deck to switch my scenes, and that's like tattooed in my brain. I see it, the name on the deck, Stream Deck. Why the fuck, Valve, do you use this name? Why of all names did you name it Deck? Actually, in the database, it was called Steam Pal, I think. I think it was Steam Pal in the Steam database before they renamed it. I read about it. I'm not. I think, was it PayPal or Steam? No, it was. No, PayPal is not. No, it was Steam Pal. I think. I think it was Steam Pal. Any other name than Deck would have made sense. Any other name. Name it whatever you want. Steam Infinity or Steam Go or Steam Mobile. I don't fucking care, but this name, I hate them for the name choice. Whoever
How
came.
else would you know that this thing have additional dock port?
Yeah, yeah. Then you have the Steam
Then
Dock.
you must buy separately.
Yeah, that's another thing. And there's no price tag for that. But I think it will be at least 70 or $100. Or let's say 69 to $99.
We'll see.
So yeah, actually you have localized prices. In the United States, it's $399. It's 419 euros here, the smaller one. But really, let's be honest, the small one is really only for people who want to use it every now and then on mobile or outside, and mostly at home, to just not be on the PC if they want to sit on the balcony or whatever. But for real gamers who really want to play on that thing, anything below the 256 is just a fucking joke. Quest 2.
And specifically, everything below 512.
Yeah, if we're honest, yeah. But
Looking
even
at you, Monster Hunter.
Oculus is or stopped production of their 64 gigabyte Quest because they know it doesn't fucking make sense in 2021. 64 gigabytes won't get you anywhere. My 32 gigabyte USB stick, which is kind of outdated now, is 6 or 7 years old. If you buy a stick, I have another stick which is not even. Wait, where is it? I have a stick which is really small. It's so small I don't find it on. Wait, is that still? I don't know. It's 1/4 of the size of the and it has 128 gigabytes on a fucking USB 3 stick.
16.
Why do they come up with 64 gigabytes? What moron? What
16.
What moron decided on that first thing? So, for me personally, the lowest, the smallest acceptable piece of hardware would be 128 gigabyte. Then you could use SteamOS and Windows 10 on it, which might take away around 40,
Questionable, but okay.
50 gigabytes. Yeah, they say you can run every Windows program. That's a lie. That's not every program runs on Linux, and if it doesn't run as it would run on Windows, that's just a fact. It's like saying, hey, yeah, I can play every PlayStation game on a PC. Yeah, you can emulate PlayStations, but some might work better than others, and some might not work at all. So that's
if we're talking about PlayStation 1, there basically
doesn't
no
matter. It
problems.
was
If
just
we're talking about PlayStation 2,
just an example. Just an example. Try to run a Linux program in Windows 10. Try to do that. How would that work? So it's the other way around. It's the same. I mean, you emulate Windows on top of a Linux distribution, which is Steam's own Linux edition, basically. And you emulate Windows to make Windows stuff work on that system. So
first, Wine is not emulator. Second,
what would you want to call it?
I don't know, but Wine is an acronym, and Wine means Wine is not emulator.
It kind of simulates a Windows.
Go to Wine community and ask about that. Well, that I remember from all the stock all those years ago is that Wine is not an emulator.
But what is it? It emulates something that makes it possible for something that's not related to that operating system to run. So what does it do?
I have no idea. It's basically the Linux thing of naming things like that. Wine is not an emulator, and GNU is not Unix.
Yeah, I know. It's basically what wine means. Wine stands for wine is not an emulator. But what would you... Okay, that's freaking... Can I have that in English, please? So that saves me from translating that shit. Oh yeah, and I come up on wine to drink. Are you serious? You son of a... Seriously? God, sometimes I...
Well, logic.
Okay, so it's a compatibility layer for Windows runtime system, which translates Windows system calls into POSIX compliant system calls, which is for the public general emulating Windows to make it possible to run Windows programs on it. Call it Wine is not an emulator all day long. Wine is a fucking emulator. If you break it down to what it does, it is telling the program there is Windows, even though there is no Windows.
Back to the Windows thing. So basically, I don't know if it's implemented in Windows, is in later builds of Windows 10, but it's definitely going to be implemented in Windows 11. Linux core will run simultaneously to Windows core. Basically, you're not going to launch Linux core out of the Windows. Linux core will be work in parallel with Windows.
What, in Windows 11?
Yeah. I don't know if it's implemented in Windows 10, in late build of Windows 10, but it's definitely going to be like that in Windows 11.
I go back to Windows 8.1. Seriously. No, seriously. Windows 8.1 until this day is the most stable and most reliable Windows I ever used in 30 years. Up until this day, I still have people with my Windows 8 installation that I made them without any issues for years. Windows 10, I just reinstalled it a week or 1.5 ago, and I still have issues on a clean installed freaking PC without anything running in the background. My stream PC, god damn it, the Steam Deck pisses me off and messes up with it. So my stream PC, not my Steam PC where Steam is running, my stream PC is a clean install. The bare minimum that I need to run on it. Managed to crash it several times now. Windows 8 was running for 2 years until I got my first blue screen. 2 years! Running hundreds of
Still prefer
programs.
using this thing instead of Windows 10.
What is that, XP?
7.
Ah, okay, because it's basically invisible with the green screen.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It reflects the background in that.
I have experience well.
Yay. Do you want me to get my Windows 2 box with the 10 discs or so? With this thick of a manual. There was a real book for an operating system. A book where you could just flip through and, oh, that's how I use it. Oh, easy. Oh, how do I use that? Oh, let's go a few pages further. Ah, now you go to Windows Help and either you don't find it or it links you to the website and you still don't find shit.
Yep. And let's have a next task. Is it helpful or not?
I like
So
manuals.
basically, yeah, manuals are cool. Specifically, Metal Gear manuals are cool.
Oh, the back in the day, the manuals were always fun. Nintendo manuals for the Super Nintendo, so there were always tips in there that you did not find out in the game. Maybe at the end, where you're like, ah, that works as well. Yeah, if you would have taken a look in the manual, it would have told you. And as good as any on-screen setup or menu or whatever is, if you want to know how a HD receiver or something like that is set up right, you need a freaking manual. Stop pushing buttons and assume functions. Because that one company uses that shortcut for something, Sony uses a completely different one, then you get an on cue and you're completely fucked. So read a freaking manual. It's a RTFM. That's used for decades in the computer business. RTFM. Read the fucking manual.
Right now, it might be a problem. Specifically because not every
Not what? You were cutting off.
not every program has a freaking manual.
Yeah,
For device, for example.
yeah, you get yeah, okay. I mean, phones have their manual as their first time installation basically. So the manual at least from what I know from my Pixel now. I mean, and I know that's definitely different and better than all the other phones that I had before. When it comes to user experience and stuff like that. When they release a new update for Android or so, there's always a way for me to click what's new for Pixel or something like that. Then I have pictures and infos and shortcut videos or whatnot that shows me functions and stuff. The Pixel is the Pixel can be used by a freaking monkey who can see stuff on a display. That's how easy they explain you everything. So I don't need a book or anything for that. So I'm fine. Back in the day, you needed it because, yeah, the menu was not. I mean, as a example, that phone that I showed earlier, um, yeah, you knew how that with the cam and everything worked because you could try it. But if you read about it, you know more. And the whole system was so limited. It's not like you have 16 gigabytes in there and oh yeah, let's put a manual in there for with 100 megabytes or whatnot. Yeah, that thing would have been full or something. So, um, but yeah, manuals for games. Normally, if you go through the tutorial these days, it's fine. Tutorials were not really that much of a thing back in the day. So, um, that's also why I will never understand somebody who buys a game and then skips the tutorial. And then after a few hours, how can I do that? Yeah, you idiot. Would you have played the tutorial? You would know for 2 hours already. Now you're like, okay, where do I find it out? I know that because sometimes I had to jump into a game, and then I'm like, how do I do that? And yeah, so you do get a manual sometimes, but it's if you get a disc, it might be a PDF on the disc, but you barely get discs these days. You get a freaking card with a download code, and if you're lucky, there might be a PDF to download, but pretty much there will be no manual anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, but okay,
Basically, last point of our love to Steam Deck.
yeah. Why is that in German? Ah, okay, that makes sense. Thank you. I hate to translate stuff back from German to English if I have an English version already, you know. Saves me all the stuff. All right. So, yeah, Proton is basically the non-emulated emulation for Windows games on that thing. Um, some games will not work when they use a copy protection system. Chances are high that the program or the game will not work. So you can pretty much say goodbye to any cheat protected multiplayer game on the Steam Deck.
Specifically, player on Battlegrounds, for example, and it's kinda in the right behind me.
There you have it. That Counter-Strike works. Yeah, I mean, Counter-Strike and Dota are Valve
Counter
based.
Strike and Dota basically have native support of Linux.
Yeah, we're just talking about the cheat protection. Normally, you have external cheat protection. That's a problem. If it's internal from Valve itself, I mean, the Steam Deck is a Valve product, so it's included in Steam, so it's not an external program. Um,
Ah,
but but if
look at that. GTA 5 in bronze, and GTA 5 has an external protection.
yeah, but it's not green because it's not working 100%.
Yep, and basically not even silver.
So the thing is, all those infos are related to PCs, not really to the
And
Steam Deck yet. So
most of them came from different system running different versions of Linux.
yeah, exactly. So this one
Oh
you'll
yeah,
just
and also something that need to be said. We mentioned wine because basically Steam Proton is just a fucking wine. It's a wine.
it's not
It
it's
might be tuned in to work with Steam or something like that. But it's just Wine.
Yeah, basically, it's based on it, just optimized for SteamOS, basically. um, so
So
one
every
one one in
problem that every problem that Wine have, Proton have it as well. No exceptions.
yeah, there's one thing I just read which is kinda fitting to all the Steam Deck stuff. Proton is still in its infancy, so support is inconsistent but regularly improving. So you might
Yeah,
be able to play a game you
that's
want
basically a
after a while.
bullshit that they said because Wine is basically not in 1.0. Wine still in basically in condition when trying to get into a good working state. Proton basically fully dependent on Wine progress.
Yeah, the problem I always had with Linux, um, yes, it's kinda nice to have freedom and open source and stuff, but it also makes it really hard sometimes to find finished, stable products. Um,
You have a lot of unfinished stable products, and
yeah,
for
that's
some reason, a lot of people think that that's okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not really a Linux fan, and I know as network administrator you should be, and I do use Linux sometimes when Windows is fucking me over. I'm happy about. Okay, I don't have it here, but just representing here, I have Linux Kali on it. Kali is often used for cybersecurity related things as well, like port checking and things like that. It's basically the hacker Linux, also used in Mr. Robot, actually. He uses Kali. And yeah, for example, when I reinstalled my Stream PC, um, it kinda decided for some reason, even though I installed Windows 10 on that several times, but with the latest version I downloaded as installation, which is 21H1, yeah, it 100% forces you to convert your disk to GPT and away from MBR. Yeah, which is okay if you only have one disk and one partition. Totally fine. You delete the partition, make a new one, or make the new disk or whatever, it will by standard be converted. If you want to keep a partition like I did, because I only have one disk in there, you're fucked. With the onboard tools that come with the setup files, yeah, you can convert it in a second after you cleaned the whole disk, so no partition on it. I needed a Linux live stick to actually back up my Windows files. So yeah, even as a Windows administrator, I kinda have to rely on a Linux stick every now and then. There is no other way. If a Windows system crashes, for me personally, there is no other way to get on it um, without physically taking out a disk. I just need a Linux live stick. Put it in, boot the system, back up your fucking files, and you're good. So yeah, that kind of screwed
And
me over.
interesting thing is that you can even run Linux from basically DVD.
Yeah, DVD stick doesn't matter. Yeah. So it is fully portable, which is not a bad thing. You can make a Windows portable as well. Not that easy. For Linux, I mean, you look up a distribution you want to use, type in live, and then you, I guess in 70 or 80% of all Linux distributions, you will have a live stick that you can use. And you can use that as installation medium as well. If you want to install it, you
At least most popular one have this option. I mean, Arch I'm not going to even mention Arch.
Yeah, I heard about Arch the first time when I went to the comics here and I saw that somebody uses Arch Linux. Never heard of that before.
Basically, Ubuntu, Mint, and Debian.
Yeah, they all yeah, those are the most popular basically, and they have all distributions. And I think SUSE, if that's still a thing, I have that. I paid for that actually. I have a paid SUSE version, including books and shit. That big. The manual is that big. Seriously, it's a book. Okay, it was SUSE 8.3 or something about 15 or 16 years ago, if that's enough. I think even longer. So yeah, Windows is capable to use as a live or a Windows Go version, but it's shit. I never did it. It's just way too complicated. I downloaded a freaking ISO file, put it on my stick with an USB to ISO to USB tool, and we're good. Anyway, different story, different shit. Yeah, so Proton is early access basically, and will be early access for the longest time, I guess.
Will be early access as long as Wine is early access.
Yeah, I mean Linux is early access. So
Linux not, but GNU yes.
It depends on the distribution. Yeah, I mean it's open source. What's off? I mean
Linux Core. Linux Core is basically finished, but it's
yeah,
always in development.
yeah, true. Yeah, if you see it like that. So anything related to Proton and the Steam Deck is definitely more than just speculations. So I don't want to go too much into details about Proton. First, I don't know enough about it, but second, the hardware that will need this is not even existing at this point. So I guess some people might have a hard awakening when they try to play a few popular games. But so far, external cheat protection systems might be the biggest problem for the Steam Deck. But then again,
Also, I wanna point out numbers that we can see on ProtonDB. Do you Let's just remember one of the claims that Steam Deck will play every game on Steam. Scroll up a little bit.
oh that
No, up. Those are the numbers of confirmed games that work on the Proton.
the ratings for the 10 most popular games, and only 2 of them would I consider to run without any issues.
3. Team Fortress basically in development hell, but yeah, it
Yeah,
stable.
I was just looking at green and the longest bar basically. So yeah, you have 10 games and seems like a lot of games have real issues. And nobody is playing Destiny 2 since it's free to play, right? Yeah. That Counter-Strike runs, I mean, it's Valve's own product. If that wouldn't run on the Steam Deck, that would a really bad fail. Team Fortress seems to run.
Team Fortress, at least on raw links, run fine. I don't know why it's in silver, but if you consider that a lot of people, even me, downgraded the game into
Okay, so
a
that's
state of low and low just to run it properly.
you know
It's not
that
that bad.
Team Fortress does have a Linux version, right?
Yep.
Okay. So when playing with Proton, official servers, casual, competitive, will kick you out when you play native, you can play everything perfectly with no issues at all.
Why do you even play this game with Proton?
I don't know, to test it? No, maybe they use SteamOS. I have no idea.
Even in SteamOS, it's supposed to run with native.
Yeah, the game functions normally when not factoring online play in, but it is the entire reason to play this game in the first place. You're best off just running this one natively if it functions near flawlessly. I mean, yeah, kind of makes it doesn't make sense to use a Linux program on Wine. That doesn't
Right.
make it's
So basically, Proton have a problem with WAC as well.
no, but I mean, why would you? Why I don't understand why you would use the Windows version of a game with Proton or Wine if you can choose the Linux version. It's not like you have to buy it in every version. You buy a game once, and if it supports Mac, you can play it on a Mac. If it supports Windows, you install it on Windows. If it supports Linux, and Team Fortress supports all operating systems, why would you even try that on Proton? That doesn't make any
It
sense.
it might be related that when Proton is running, every game is running through Proton, at least at current state. And to run it
Yeah, but
without
wouldn't
Proton, you must turn it off.
shouldn't Proton see, oh, that guy just started a Linux game, let's not use Proton for that. That's how I would program it. I mean,
You know, when
file association.
again back to Steam Machine. When Steam Machine launched, my brother was like, "Hey, this means Steam will have a lot more Linux games." Yeah, cool. He used to be a Linux user. Right now, he's Mac user. So anyway, he was like, "Yeah, cool." And then we noticed one thing. Linux had separate icon than Steam Machine. We basically had no idea why. So basically, even if when when you're playing on Steam Machine, even games that have native Linux support, they will run through Proton. I think they didn't implement the thing like this have a native support that start native.
Yeah, that's kind of stupid. That's kind of like an oversight, but that's yeah. I don't understand why you would do that. I mean, if I click on a file on Windows, it normally opens with the program associated to it. Even if another program could open that, but yeah, I mean, I can open, for example, I can open PDF files with 4 different ways on my PC. Um,
And it's open with Chrome.
it depends from where I open it. No, if I open it from my desktop, it would open. Now it's opening in PDF 24, which is kind of like an editor as well. So if you want to merge different PDFs, like I need for an application, for example, to put my diploma in there or something like that, awesome tool. You can just put them together, go and save, and it saves one PDF. So you don't need Acrobat or something like that. But I could also open it in Illustrator if I want to completely change the freaking PDF. Um, but normally it opens with the program associated to it. In a browser, if I open PDFs, yeah, it opens in the browser. But if I download it, it will always open it with either Foxit Reader, which I don't have installed at the moment, but with the PDF 24 reader, which is also a thing of the whole freaking package, which is also free. Um, so it wouldn't try to open that in the browser when it already knows that there's something locally installed. So Proton should be installed or coded the same way. If it sees an extension that is a Windows extension, which is kinda easy to spot, then it would not. And if that's a Linux extension, there's no reason to not emulate it in the Wine emulator, which is not an emulator. See, so that's kind of
Talking
stupid.
about Valve.
But yeah, when the Steam machines were announced and were supposed to come out, there was only a fraction of native Linux games. Things didn't
Even
change
after,
too much.
yeah, after Steam Machine launched, the number of Linux games didn't change that much.
Okay, here, let's narrow down by OS.
Right now it's a much bigger number, but if you're going to look for SteamOS, the list is much bigger than if you look at Linux games.
Okay, okay. I'm looking for SteamOS and Linux games with no search. So it comes up with 16,000 results.
And basically half of it not support Linux.
Wait, most of that is soundtracks and stuff like that. I see only SteamOS icons there. I actually don't see any. But it's one search, so I guess they have Linux and SteamOS together. The point I want to make, I ordered it for release dates. So, there were a few nice games released in the last few weeks. Let's check how many are actually supporting SteamOS. The bad part is it. No, actually, it is all SteamOS. Okay, and Mac and Windows obviously as well. Okay, so one game.
I'm not sure, but they might have merged the Linux and
Yeah.
SteamOS sign,
Linux
but
and
it,
yeah, I said that before.
but
It is only
yeah,
one
yeah, but
search. Yeah.
still, Linux and SteamOS 5 years ago, even though that you can search Linux and SteamOS together even back then, there used to be practically different platforms. If something had SteamOS supported, wasn't supported on Linux.
Yeah,
I know that
that's
from second-hand experience.
yeah, but that's obvious. But still, Linux worked on SteamOS. That's the point. That
Yep.
SteamOS optimized games cannot work on Linux kinda also makes sense. It's SteamOS optimized. If it wouldn't be Steam optimized,
They're
it
not
would just.
optimized. It's freaking Proton. They're running this with Proton.
Yeah, but they still. It's still for a different platform. SteamOS might be based on Linux, but that doesn't mean that everything that runs on Steam must run on Linux because it is made
No,
for
it
SteamOS.
actually means exactly that, because
No.
most of the ProtonDB reports came from Linux users. So basically, if you're a Linux user, you can install ProtonDB and you will have no problem.
Yeah,
But
but
back then,
still,
when
it's
the Steam Machine launched,
okay.
that
Okay, a
wasn't the information that Linux community get.
different example. It's basically saying, okay, I can run this game on Windows 10, so it needs to run on Windows 7, which is bullshit. It is Windows, yes, and Windows 10 is kind of based on code from Windows 7, but that doesn't mean that a game that is for Windows 10 needs to run on an older Windows, even though it's Windows. That's what I mean. And SteamOS games might be Linux games, but use functionality which is just not part of Linux, like big picture mode and shit like that. I don't know what they did. Maybe it's just a,
Proton.
a
Only Proton. As far as I know, it's only Proton.
doesn't matter.
It's basically already. They basically integrated Wine into Steam.
Yeah, which is Proton, their own system. So it's not Wine anymore. It's Steam OS Wine, which is Proton. So if you have a Steam OS game, doesn't mean it needs to run on Linux with Wine. Just it's based on it. But a Linux game can still run on Steam OS and Proton because that's basically the next step from the regular Linux. Anyway, that's not the point I want to make. I want to see what AAA game came out in the last few weeks that actually runs on Steam OS. I saw
You should basically
none.
stretch the search into several years, and you'll see zero.
Yeah, I just ordered for the new games now, and that's the thing that I want to check now, and games that I actually also know. So one game that I just saw was, where was it? Death something something that just came out and is on my wish list. Just went right over it a moment ago. Here, Death Trash, for example. It's a top-down isometric pixel art game, so it doesn't need that much hardware or anything. So that runs on SteamOS. And it's also a game that a lot of people play at the moment. The soundtrack for Grime does run on SteamOS. I don't see the game yet, which would be maybe an idea to have the game itself run as well. But no, you can listen to the music. Um,
And because we're talking about Steam, you can't listen to the music if you don't have a game.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah,
If
that's
they fix that.
Paint the Town Red is also an indie game, which is low poly. Omno soundtrack, okay. I don't see the game in there. The game is pretty good.
I can see Witcher too.
Can I maybe not search for something without something? I don't want soundtracks in here. Hide.
There used to be a filter that should include only games.
Hmm. Okay, anyway, let's go back here. So I did not see one game really yet. Unbound, okay, it's also an indie game. Indie games tend to get Linux support more than AAA. There's seriously not one new game, new AAA title that is in that list here. Not one. Zero. All just indie games. Also not the biggest games, smaller games. Yeah, there's not one game, only soundtracks. Total War Warhammer DLC, but I don't see the game itself, which is kind of weird. There's seriously not one AAA game since July, and there have been some released. It's not like nothing was released. Fuck me, there's not one freaking AAA title from any developer or publisher supporting SteamOS or Linux. Are you kidding me? Wow. Holy shit. All freaking all freaking soundtracks and stuff and indie games and some demos.
Oh, I found the check mark. Basically, under tags categories drop-in list, you can check games from there.
Yeah, I'm already in June. Not one AAA title whatsoever. There have been several over the last few months. No, there's not one single AAA title in there. Not one. So none of the games that came out in the last, oh, I'm at May already. So at least none of the last 3 months will run there. There's not one. But RPG Maker runs on it. Yay! No, seriously.
Well, RPG Maker has a native support.
Yep, that's the thing. Nope, there is not one single AAA title from a big developer at all in here. Zero. That speaks a lot for the future of the Steam Deck, I think. Seriously, there's not one big game in there. That's also
And I basically know that.
pixel art. That's kind. I mean, I expected at least one or two games to be in here, but not one is really not a lot. Holy
And that's basically what I expected, that there would be basically zero games from AAA. I checked my GOG library just on games that I own, and the only big game that I can see in here is The Witcher 2. No Witcher 1, no Witcher 3. Only Witcher 2.
Portal Reloaded is supported, which is also an indie title, so and a free-to-play game. Yeah, no, there's not one single triple. I'm in April already. Okay, let me go for highest price. Highest price normally means AAA. Okay, we get Valve Index. Yeah, thank you. At least that runs in SteamOS. Okay,
I wonder why.
okay. We get some AAA in here. City Skylines Collection for 219 euros. Are you fucking nuts?
That's Paradox.
um,
Stellaris also Paradox. Europe Universalis also Paradox.
yeah, Saints Row. I mean, it's not really. Still, only a handful, not even a handful AAA titles so far. Civilization 6, okay. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, okay. Warhammer 40,000, Dawn of War. Holy shit, why oh my god, that's all freaking overpriced. Why would you pay freaking... Okay, that's 39.60 for the definitive edition, okay. But still, I mean, came out, what, 4 years ago or so? 3?
What exactly the Dawn
Shadow
of War?
Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, okay,
Still
okay.
40 euros. It's City Skyline new player bundle. Okay. Civilization, more Warhammer, Hitman Game of the Year edition. Which
Basically Total War Warhammer 2. Total War 3 Kingdoms as well.
yeah, but no, not really. Dying Light Ultimate. Okay. Yeah, it's Euro Truck Simulator Essentials is also years old. Wait, and Essentials is, I think, DLCs or something, or wheels and shit like that, because it's on my wish list and I already have Euro Truck Simulator, the base game. Desperados 3, okay. Ark Ultimate Survivor, which is not the regular game. Ultimate Survivor is the Battle Royale version, I think, right? Yeah, no, it doesn't look good. Seriously, it does not look too good. New
It
games?
it might get better because of that shit that Linux core will run simultaneously with the Windows core. It might get, but most likely than not, it will
Why?
not get a lot better.
Windows developers won't make their games work on Linux and Windows when they just develop for Windows. Nah, that's not gonna change them. You have to
I'm
give.
just retranslating the idea of most optimistic man about this, the future of Steam Deck.
I think the one way they have to go is pay developers to make their version SteamOS capable. Otherwise, I think most developers won't give a fuck.
It's also not that easy.
Yeah, besides that, I mean, you have to develop two games basically.
Well, it's not as drastically different as for making game for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC.
Yeah,
It's not as bad.
but still, you cannot use all the same files. You can use the same graphic files maybe if they're in an unchanged format.
Not really for Linux.
Linux
As far
supports
as I
JPEG,
know,
PNG, and all that kind of shit. That's what I mean.
oh yeah. But you do have problems with NVIDIA drivers in a way that NVIDIA not produce official video drivers for video cards.
Oh no, no,
So basically you can,
there are Linux drivers, but they're always behind the Windows drivers. That was always a thing, and will.
because it's not official Linux drivers, at least for NVIDIA. It's custom-made drivers. As I'm not sure if RTX is working on Linux,
Oh,
but at least
I don't
they
know.
didn't produce Linux drivers.
They have their own Linux drivers here. So I don't know what you mean. That was a thing from the past. That was
It
back in
was
the
a thing
day.
at least from 6 years ago.
You know what 6 years in hardware is? It's like forever. 6 years is like
Okay, it was a thing in GTX more specifically.
yeah, because 6 years, what was the 800 or 900 series already? That's like 4 generations in the past or so. At least 4 hardware generations in the past. That counts as much as Windows 3.11 has any value these days. Zero. So yeah, back then it kinda started with SteamOS, which might have been a reason for Nvidia to say, okay, we should
I
maybe
think the biggest reason why they did Linux drivers was RTX.
no. RTX is only a thing since 2.5 years, basically, since the 2000 series. So 6 years ago, they had nothing to do with RTX.
Yep, and that's why 6 years ago there were no official NVIDIA drivers.
Yeah, but the reason was not RTX. Why they
Basically, I think that they start producing their own Linux drivers because either they were afraid that somebody reverse engineer RTX technology, or they were afraid that people would be that RTX technology would be so drastically complicated for people to make it work in custom builds.
uh-uh. Nah. First, again, RTX was on nobody's plate 6 years ago. Even
Yeah,
less for
that's why I'm
Linux.
saying that on Linux there was no official drivers back then.
The thing is, there was never a reason for NVIDIA to make any other drivers than the base functionality drivers because nobody with sane mind would have played on freaking Linux back in the day.
Back in the day, people played, and they
Hardly.
used to use custom drivers.
I know not one person, and I game for decades. I
My
never.
brother,
I
for
met one
example.
person. I met one hardcore Linux person, but that was a network administrator and a coder. Besides that, I never ever in my life met one person who uses Linux to game on it. Never.
I
Zero.
know at least 2 or 3.
I personally never, and I had to do with a ton of people in IT. Not one was playing on Linux ever. And I'm just thinking about the reason why Nvidia finally stepped up. First, it's their thing. So they have to make sure it runs on every system. So it's not like a
Used to get in contact with NVIDIA constantly to get drivers on Linux. And basically that's one of the reasons why he saying fuck you NVIDIA.
one of the problems that Linux has is that this different distributions. So it's not like you're downloading.
Of
Um,
course,
I
Steam
mean
is one.
now it might be different, but back in the day you needed drivers for Debian. If you used Ubuntu, you need maybe a different driver for that hardware again, and I guess that was a bit too complicated. I don't know. I just assuming here, but around 5 years
Basically
ago,
because nobody produced drivers for that. They
five
used to reverse the engineer themselves.
again 5 years ago, Steam machines were coming up, which were based on Linux and real hardware, like regular gamer graphics card, and Alienware used Nvidia and so on and so on. And I guess, and that's just assuming, I don't know, you don't know, but I guess that was the moment where they realized, okay, yeah, gaming on Linux might be a thing, so let's make real drivers for that. That they wouldn't wait for private people to update their drivers. I mean, that's just logic, and it would be stupid to even think about that. We're not talking about a game that's not supported by a developer, so the community needs to patch that. Whole different story. This is a hardware producer who makes nothing else than producing hardware, and will produce hardware in the next 100 years, I guess. So yeah, it's a matter of time when they have to support every single system where their hardware works in. So it's just a logical step. So the one thing that you don't see in here, do you see Mac drivers?
No.
It supports Mac and it runs under Mac. Apple computer these days are nothing else than a PC with a dongle that makes it possible to run Mac OS on it. That's it. And that's the reason why Apple, for me personally, is overpriced PC hardware with no reason to
Now it's
exist anymore.
overpriced mobile computer hardware because of M1 processor.
Yeah, they went back now again. So Apple, and I think Apple is going back to ARM processors or something. I don't know. But when they changed back in the day, end of the 90s, from RISC processors, which were much better performing than Intel or PC CPUs, even more for audio and graphic stuff. But that that time back then, it was 99 or so. For me personally, Apple ended. Apple is just another PC producer with a different operating system. Hey, the best. How do you say that? Is that cushy cushy? Steam Deck is gonna change the world? No, no, it's definitely not. No.
It's it might be, but it's not because it's not because I'm not really sure about that because of the shortage of components and stuff like that.
Uh, okay, now I know that you're just joking. Linux will become the dominant OS. Yeah, no, that's not never. That's never gonna. In my lifetime, that's not gonna happen. Before Linux becomes the most dominant OS, there will be a completely new operating system besides Windows or Linux, which has a better chance to become dominant. But it will not be Linux. No, that's as long as Microsoft is there, and as long as there's no competitor to bring something out that natively runs Windows stuff but is a different operating system on its own, no, that's not gonna happen. I've been too long. I hear that Linux joke for decades already. So yeah, Linux is amazing, and it's more casual these days, so you don't have to be a hardcore computer guy to actually install and use it.
Depends.
Yeah,
If
I
you
mean, it's
buy
still,
something like Red Hat or
yeah. I mean, it depends. I mean, I would never give my parents a Linux computer. No, it would just be too complicated in most cases. So it won't become dominant, but Linux already has an increase in market share after the deck was announced. Yeah, which Linux in market share? Because there is not one Linux. And
not one distribution of Linux.
shares and stock market has nothing to do about anything in this world. Just making some people who have enough money more rich. That's the one thing it says. It doesn't matter if stocks of something go up or down. In the end,
And
it doesn't
if we're
doesn't
talking
decide.
about stuff like Great Depression, stocks can be kinda overblown.
Yeah, kinda. I
Like
don't know.
so much kinda that the whole country can get bankrupt.
My whole family uses Linux and they are just fine. Yeah, if you don't know anything and you get used to that, yeah, maybe. But my parents are in the 70s, so yeah, there's no way for them to use Linux anymore. No. They even have the the way I install Windows is relatively easy for people to use. Um, no, no, Linux is more a thing for more tech savvy people, I think. More than 10% market share increase in the STEM survey in July. Yeah, not
It's
just Ubuntu.
it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
market share. It's basically physical representation.
Yeah, but did the share
It's a
of
different thing.
Valve change? Because there is not one Linux share, only one singular one. It's not like you buy shares for Microsoft, then you know Windows is included, kinda. But where would you buy Linux shares? There is not
You
the
can't.
one. Yeah, there is not the one Linux share. You have Red Hat, Debian, Ubuntu, Arch, Mint, SUSE.
No, you physically can't buy Linux shares, but you can buy shares for Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat, and others.
Yeah, general increase overall, then 10% in the market against Microsoft mean nothing. Microsoft is and will stay the most dominant operating system for the next years. There's no.
Arch is most common.
Yeah, I would not say that it's most common these days. I mean, I'm not much into Linux. I admitted that earlier, but Arch is, yeah, I read about it just today. So
It
yeah,
must take severe fall.
I I know all the others, but Arch was new to me, so I'm not thinking that's the most common. The most common, I would say, might be Ubuntu and Mint, maybe, from a
Basic,
casual point of view.
you're kinda right, because if I remember correctly, that Ubuntu has into one of his family tree Mint, and Mint is basically the dominant distributive of Linux right now.
Yeah. So
And I don't remember its relation to Debian.
Arch is by far the best one. Yeah, I guess that's also it depends on your opinion, I guess, and your background. my uncle was always bragging about Linux and for decades and doing everything with Linux and always trying to convert me and stuff. I used I used Linux over 20 years ago already. I mean, it's not like I never used Linux or anything. But for me personally, it just doesn't make any sense. Most of the programs that I have to rely on don't work in Linux. So I, that and games, pretty much every game that I own is not working in Linux the way it should. And if it works, there are comparisons between the Linux and the Windows version. And in pretty much all cases, Linux always looks worse. Always. Not sometimes, always looks worse, like lower texture quality or whatnot. Might be related to NVIDIA drivers, I don't mind or I don't care, but no, Linux for a gamer is just not a thing, really. Ubuntu does just fine, but Arch-based has more users. I mean, from user friendliness point of view. Well, there is a
Arch is most user friendly.
I mean, Ubuntu was made for the casual user in mind, so
Yeah,
that is really easy.
basically, Ubuntu still has a mark for housewives.
Yeah, pretty much. Ubuntu would be the one that I would install for my parents, but I don't. From a user friendliness point of view, yeah, I have no idea. I didn't try it, so. Arch has every package, lib and kernel available in the App Store. I have 300 games. I work and I get double the FPS with FSR and VRS enabled. Okay, name me one new game of the last 6 months. one bigger or known game that was hyped or anything. Chances are high that I have it. Please let me know, and then I'll see if that's even supporting Linux. So, and that's the next thing. Every distribution of Linux is kind of based on the first from back in the day. Now you have distributions that are based on distributions, and that's just that's already it's already over for me, you know. And I'm an IT guy, but nah. Yeah, you game through Proton. Yeah. Name me one game where you get twice the FPS than me on a PC. Please. Examples, please, because I really doubt that. I really doubt that you get twice the FPS than I get on PC while you use Proton. Death Stranding? Sorry, without trying it, but I highly doubt that you get twice the FPS on a Linux system than on the same hardware Windows system. No, not on Proton. Mm-mm. Yeah, then you should get 200 FPS on Windows. What is FSR actually? I have no idea what FSR stands for. Talk Windows language. Yeah, that's definitely what this is. Oh, AMD super resolution. Yeah, I'm an NVIDIA guy, so I don't care for AMD.
I care.
Sorry. Yeah, it's basically the DLSS from AMD.
You know, I can say that Fedora is more popular than Arch. I've sent you the link.
Send me the link.
Yeah, I was right. Ubuntu, Debian, Mint.
Yeah, that would have been my guess as well. Oh, Archer number 10. Yeah, that's definitely not the most common. 100. Sorry, don't want to offend you, but if you call a Linux that's on number 10 in a top 10 list,
but it's still pretty much a lot popular because there is a lot of distributive for Linux.
So yeah, if you're just using we're just talking about Linux and what's used the most. Hey, I even know Fedora. Is still a thing? God, that's
Yep, because it's basically
yeah, Red Hat.
testing Polygon for Red Hat.
Mm. Yeah, I used that back in the day.
Steam survey doesn't count because this is most popular distributor for Linux.
Hey, SUSE is still a thing. Yeah, I didn't use OpenSUSE. I used the paid for SUSE, so the full distro. But yeah, that would basically be yeah. I know those first six, and then yeah, it kind of ends. CentOS, I actually heard of that as well. Arch, I heard the first time today of it, but then again, I don't care for Linux one single bit. Used Ubuntu. Oh, Elementary is based on Ubuntu. Okay, so everything that's based on something that's based on something else is already I don't even care. So, but yeah, will be. I mean, Steam Deck will not change the world. I mean, it might make Linux
It
gaming more
could
popular.
change the world if it would be more widespread, but again, as I said about shortage of components, that might not be a thing.
Yeah, but back to that list again. There's not really one game that came out lately that actually supports Linux or SteamOS.
Okay, Triton. So let's basically go to the Arch plus KDE.
Where do you come up with that now? So Arch is one distro and KDE is another one.
KDE is basically desktop.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Um, who cares about native support when you have Proton? Well, some stuff just doesn't work in Proton.
Triton, can you bring back Team Fortress to from ProtonDB?
Uh, Proton was here. Yep. So yeah, Proton compared to natively running games that support Linux runs worse. So if you have a game that runs natively on Linux, using Proton would be stupid. So, and why would games, so do you mean games work better on Proton than on Windows natively?
No, I mean I think I mean basically native Linux works worse than Proton.
Yeah, third person anti-cheat, that's an issue, but yeah, those anti-cheat guys will work on that and stuff. But it's too early to talk about that really, and Proton on Steam Deck is also a whole different thing that it is now, I would say, because different hardware and stuff. So they can optimize it for that hardware, which is the positive thing about having a console or your dedicated device, because you know it only supports that and that's it. So you can optimize everything that's relying on that. The only worthy Linux port is the latest Tomb Raider. Yeah, we came up with that as well, and that's 3 years old. So yeah, there's basically no new game that was released.
Personally, because of my taste, I would say that it might be Witcher 2, but it's not related how it's run actually.
Which one?
I'm not
Because you were
sure.
cutting out.
The Witcher 2.
Hmm.
I'm not
Uh,
super, not sure how it's run
Back
actually.
4 Blood already works, for example. Yeah, but that might more. Wait, does that use an external anti-cheat? Oh yeah, it was using. Oh, what was it? Panda or something? But I think Back for Blood is closer tied into Steam than some other games maybe because it's kind of based on Left 4 Dead. So we just came in Proton then. Proton works phenomenally in general. Easy anti-cheat. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about the logo and it didn't come up with the name. um, but yeah, again,
I
we
don't
have
remember
to
who else have easy anti-cheat.
we have to yeah, it's several games. The Division, I think.
Oh, you can actually check for Division Proton.
Oh, does it work? Short question. Does it work?
Gold.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's pretty good. But yeah, we have to wait at least a year before we really know how good games will run on that useless hardware that I still think is a fail. No, all the games don't work yet, but work has started. Yeah. That's sure. I mean, developers now know that the Steam Deck. Oh my god, I hate that name with every single part of my body. I look at my Stream Deck here, at my Stream Deck, and I always want to say Stream Deck, but it's not even related. Yeah, so let me guess, you already pre-ordered or saved your spot for Steam Deck? Right, the name sucks, right? Oh, thank you. At least we are on one level with that. Steam Deck, I mean, what piece of asshole do you have to be in marketing to come up with that name? Seriously. They name a VR headset Index, which I still don't get. Oculus, yeah, that makes sense for me. Oculus. Index, not so much. But why Deck? So we have the Steam Deck and you can buy a Steam Dock for it. Valve? Oh my god.
So I think we should get basically to the end and
Make
actually
part two.
answer no, actually answer the questions that we have under the announcement. We have questions to answer right now.
We still didn't even get halfway through. So
I
I
think
did. We didn't show. We kind of went off track a little bit too long. I wanted to show more hardware that actually is kind of similar and kind of makes sense. And yeah, but really didn't show.
we already learned about the hardware without showing it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing that this one and the other one from GPD. So yeah, yeah. Well, but yeah, to make it short, the price of the Steam Deck compared to all other competitors is definitely the others cannot compete with that. So the price tag is definitely great. Every other mobile PC out at the moment is definitely much more expensive, but some of them, I mean, the performance now at the moment is also better on the Steam Deck than on the Aya Neo, for example. Like in Doom, you get around 20 FPS more with similar settings. So might be even more with the production version of the Steam Deck. Um, but with some of the other mobile PCs, you have more options. Um, with the size for the disk, for example. I mean, 512, yeah, 512 kind of makes sense to use it. Okay, since we have somebody who actually pre-ordered that thing, what are you gonna use that for? What's your usage for that thing, for that huge thing? You know how big that is, right? So it's not your. It is impossible to put that in any of your pants. The other ones, yeah, most of them fit actually in your bag. So you definitely need space in your backpack for that monster. Just game on the sofa or bed. But you have a game PC? So I mentioned that earlier. The smaller one makes almost no sense. The smaller one does make sense if you have a game PC at home and use this basically as your streaming device. And if you want to play on your couch and maybe not on your desk, but yeah, yeah, see, so you have two amazing machines. Why would you play on that piece of shit? It's my opinion. Everybody has their opinion. In my opinion, this is garbage. If you have a PC at home, this is, I would, okay, if I had a really good PC at home and a Steam Deck, and I have a friend that I maybe don't like as much, I would invite him over, let him play on the Steam Deck while I show him how good the game would look on my PC. That's what I use the Steam Deck for. But why on earth would you play on the freaking mobile device with lower resolution, lower effects, compared to FPS shooters with a mouse, using your thumb to control the crosshair when you have a real PC that you can actually play on? The cheap one needs memory upgrade for sure. Yeah, if you use it as a streaming device to stream from your real PC, then it doesn't matter too much. And if you use it mostly at home, you don't need to take that many games with you. No friend of mine owns a Switch. I have no money for a Switch or a Steam Deck or some other fancy stuff. Nope, I'm pretty much broke, so I hope my hardware that I have at the moment is running for the next foreseeable time.
I don't own Switch, but I played Switch. I don't like Switch. I
uh,
still have a big question why it succeed.
well, for work break, it depends what you work. Yeah, if you sit on a desk and can place it somewhere, yeah, maybe. You don't do FPS, so don't think about that. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Nintendo sucks. I've regretted getting a Switch. Why?
You
Ar-
know how Smash
Arguments.
Brothers works on Switch? It's it's mostly barely playable.
No, I don't.
I played it. I know it's barely playable.
Hmm, that's weird. But yeah, the Switch. I mean, there's only one way to play Nintendo games, so that's that. If the Switch, without breaking it or bricking it, would be capable of running Windows on it, that would be a game changer. But Nintendo came kinda late to the mobile, not really to the mobile game scene, but they realized too late that smartphones get more capable and more capable. The Switch should have released a bit sooner, maybe. That's the one thing. Because it's extremely overpriced games, and Nintendo lives in the 19th century when it comes to online play still. Also, they're unethical, and it bothers me. Nintendo is stuck in the ancient ways. Unethical? In what way?
There used to be a CEO of Russian office of Nintendo. I think he was Indian or something like that. And this was most toxic man alive in the whole Nintendo. He basically treated employees like crap, was racist and sexist piece of shit, and basically denied even Nintendo fans in Russia a lot of products.
Isn't Miyamoto chef by now?
I said CEO of Russia division.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, but that's not the Nintendo headquarter, you know.
Nintendo was aware about it and only did something against him when it went public.
The hunt down streamers streaming their games. They closed all the ROM sites without offering an alternative. They deny access to creators who talk bad things about the games. They
I
upload the
know a
game,
lot of ROM sites.
Okay, so here's the thing. Um, about ROM sites. Sure, I mean that's their legit thing to do, and why would they offer alternatives? ROM sites is basically taking away money from them and stealing their games. So if a company decides to close down um, pages that offer cracked and illegal games, yeah, 100% legit. There is absolutely nothing that you can say about that. If you say
But
that's
it's not okay about Nintendo practice, and I will never change my opinion about that. It that the rules that they sell not compatible with through systems. So basically, if you had Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo Wii U, you should buy Super Mario Brothers on 3DS, and you should buy Super Mario Brothers on Switch as well, because those are three different copies. They are not cross-compatible.
yeah, yeah, still, but why support or be okay with ROM pages that yeah, sure, doing something not the right way doesn't give others the right to give away their stuff for free. Piracy is illegal. If you think that a company closing down illegal websites is a bad thing, you're full in support of piracy.
Yes.
So there's absolutely nothing wrong about that. I personally have a problem with pages like Twitch not not having enough of a spine against the music industry with all the DRM shit. That's a thing I have a problem with. Because if a game uses music, for example, and I paid for the game, the company who uses the music paid license fee for that. So I kinda have part of that license from paying my money for the game, which should allow me to play a game with their music, which I still do. I don't fucking care for their DRM strikes or whatever. First, I'm too small, so nobody cares for my channel anyway. But I mean, I've paid for that shit. So it's not like I'm buying a movie or renting a movie and showing it to the whole world on Twitch for free. That's a different thing. You need Prime for that, and those who watch you also need Prime, as far as I know. So nobody loses anything that way. Um, but yeah, closing down ROM pages, totally legit. Nintendo isn't against ROMs if you own the original and make one for yourself. But if you put it on a page for anybody to download, yeah, you're supporting piracy, and that's
As
just
far
not a
as I
thing.
know, they're even against creating your own ROMs. Don't forget that we had an episode about piracy, and we have an
But they
article that
wouldn't.
was specifically said that Nintendo doesn't like you making your own ROMs.
They might not like it, but they don't care if you keep it for yourself. It's basically like back in the day, if you copied a VHS tape for your own, I mean, at least in Germany, that was legit. If you copied it to reproduce it in higher amounts, then you were on the illegal part. But for your own at home, just for you, that would have been fine. Otherwise, as soon as you multiply it more than the one copy, the one security copy or whatever you make for yourself, as soon as you make two or give one away, then you are in the illegal piracy part. Wait, let me scroll up. I missed something. I think there should have been mandatory to be alternatives. History is being deleted. Yeah, I mean, they don't have to. Yeah, the alternative is buy our game. That's the alternative. If the only alternative to play classic games is ROMs, they should be protected. The best solution is for Nintendo to offer the ROMs themselves. Yeah, that would have been a choice to just produce ROMs for old games for Super Nintendo and NES or whatnot and sell one ROM for $2. They would make millions from that. Definitely. There have been almost 2,000 games on the Super Nintendo. Yeah. Make a ROM package of those 2,000 games and sell that for 100 or $200. Yeah, sure. A ton of people would buy that. Sure, definitely. So yeah, they don't have to offer alternatives. Get the original console, get the original game if you want to play the original. That's the thing. I mean, PlayStation 5 is not compatible to 2, 3, or 4.
Wait a second. There is a problem with Nintendo doing what they're doing. Public domain. There is a certain point of time when Nintendo has no rights to sell their own games, specifically when they have no rights to take down sites with ROMs. When the property in question become a public domain, and that's happening when they run out of rights.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Yes.
No, 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 no,
Yes.
no, no, no,
Yes,
no, no,
yes,
no.
yes, 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 yes,
As long
yes,
as the
yes.
right holder is around, we're talking about if you want to get a movie or a music or something, depending on the country, that's another thing. It's not an international thing. Depending on the country, and thanks to Disney is responsible for the long time and stuff. It is 50.
That older than Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, it's 50 or 75 years is normally the end. 75, as far as I know, for movies and music and stuff. As long as nobody who owns the rights is still around. So if a musician or the family of the musician is still alive, they can say, no, it's not public domain. It's our domain because we are the right holders. If the right holder is gone or dead,
I think if you're going to look for Mozart relatives, you will find some. But his music still in public domain.
Yeah, but everybody who is directly related to him is no more, and there's no Mozart company.
I'm sure that.
Well, we're talking about when you're talking about companies, as long as the company is around, they can decide when that copyright will end. Nobody else.
Company should burn in hell with that logic.
There is no law, there is no right on this planet who can tell the copyright owner your work is now public domain because we say so. No, that's not how public domain works. So they can decide when they make that public. It's the same like id Software releases their source codes normally after 10 years or something like that, 10, 15 years or so. But then it doesn't make sense they don't have to worry about somebody releasing a new Quake 3 because they released the source code 15 years later. Yeah, sure, stuff will be based on that, but it's outdated, so they don't care if somebody makes a new game on that. Which was done, so. We're going into other territory there. Yeah, oh yeah, we in every podcast we're going like, hey, we have a topic.
We also talked about international politics a little bit today.
Yeah, as long as Nintendo doesn't know that you make a ROM, they don't care because they don't know. So, what you do at home is your thing. Hey, do it. If you want to jailbreak your console. Hey, you're allowed to do that. If it bricks on the way, that's your problem. But go ahead, try it. Good luck. So yeah, that's a gray zone. What they don't know, they cannot care for. You know, how would they? Emulators are legal. Yeah,
Emulators are legal, but not emulator scores.
that's the thing. Um, it's a bit related to drugs. Um, marijuana is illegal in Germany. Cons- consuming it, only consuming it, wouldn't be. But how do you consume something that you don't possess? If somebody would put a joint in your mouth on the street in front of a cop, you personally would not get in trouble because you didn't even touch it, you didn't possess it, you were consuming it. So it's some laws are just freaking stupid. Oh, and depending on what you do in the bedroom, you're not allowed to shoot a shotgun in Alabama. I don't even know. But yeah. Oh, and my camera died in. Why would you die now? Seriously? Almost 3 hours? No, it's over 3 hours. Now you die. Ah, you piece of shit. I hate that camera so
Okay,
much.
so let's get back to the question and the announcement and be done with it.
Yeah, I still have to read in chat. Wait, give me a moment.
Okay.
Why is my PC like this? Okay, that's not perfect. I don't care. Okay, let me scroll. Don't you think Nintendo should offer ROMs for old games? Yeah, they should sell it. Sorry, I went over the whole chat. The bit better than money. Yeah, exactly. Just being illogical, should think. But video game history is being deleted. It should have been mandatory for them to offer these games. It's not really deleted. You can go on
A
Mobi
lot of
and
PlayStation 2 libraries lost.
yeah, but you can, if you want to know about the history of games, you can either go on Wikipedia or on Moby Games. And there's always a way to even let's just say there's always a way. You can always find a way. That's all I say about that. Not going in any details
Let's
here.
say it like company says, basically quote from Overlord. It will always find a way.
That's it. Open source is the best. Ah, I don't know. It depends. I mean, you still have to trust a person who did an update on some open source stuff. And what I personally have a little bit of a problem, a good coder can basically put anything in any software and then know enough about cybersecurity to not be the
Open
biggest fan.
soft, open source is not actually that free, especially if a project's still in active phase of development. Because if we're talking about again Linux core, Linus Torvalds checking the code that is basically going to be implemented into the core could always get his approval.
Yeah, open source doesn't have to be free as in beer. Yeah, beer should maybe be free, but hardly is. And I don't want to drink an open source beer. You know? I thought that might fit well in there. No, it doesn't.
I drink one beer not so long ago. It was dark beer, and it was basically brewing with uh, azo is um,
As long as it's free, as in freedom, people can check the code and see what's going on. It also enables improvement and innovation. Principles of open source is the way forward in general. Yeah, might be true, but still, I mean, even though I can read some code, and I could code back in the day. Uh, for the regular casual pleb on PC, there's no way to check an open source software what was done in there. So you still
So
have to trust the developer.
anyway, a stupid thing with the beer. I drink a dark beer that was basically beer, the, and nitrogen somehow was used in the process. I drink it and it's just fucking water. Yes, it has an alcohol, it has a look of a beer, but when you drink it, it's nothing. It's basically freaking water.
Was the alcohol included, or was it also alcohol free then?
It was alcohol. It was 3% dark beer.
3%? So it was basically no alcohol. Dark beer here is stronger than regular beer. It's normally at least 1% more.
Dark beer should be stronger than regular beer.
Yeah. So dark beer has around, I don't know, 6 to I think the strongest one has almost 10% of alcohol here. And the strongest beer I ever drank had, I think it was 15 or 16% of alcohol. Trust me, you will not you don't want to drink that beer. That's a beer you need to drink if you want to get hammered after 2 bottles or something like that. It was the most bitter beer I ever drank in my life, and I drank a lot of beer, different beers. That one was just like somebody was pulling your face behind, and it was, God, it tasted like shit. But I only had one beer and a long drive back in the bus, and I kinda wanted to have something in my head. That worked, but it's basically like taking a regular beer and you know those stupid mix things they do in America and stuff, where they take a big glass of beer and put some schnapps alcohol or whatever, a shot or something in it
Yeah,
and then
okay.
drink it.
Oh,
Bah.
you mean that that shot is basically drawing to the end of the beer?
Yeah, and then it mixes on the bottom more
Yeah.
or less. Is ah, ah. uh,
Don't do this with vodka. Vodka is supposed to have your respect. Drink vodka either before, in the middle, or after you drink your beer. Not let it mix inside
look,
inside the glass.
look, what I conveniently have next to my PC. There's not that much in it anymore, but that was a special edition a few years ago, winter edition in white. And yeah, I'm not. Oh wait, I can show the front without the name actually. I mean, you will still know what it is, but it's at least not promoting it directly. It's a really awesome bottle. I mean, hey, hello, that looks freaking awesome. It says limited edition. It's just original recipe.
Still 24?
Yeah. Uh, is it Cushy or how do you actually say that name? And thanks for hanging out and enjoy the beach. It's a bit, yeah, it's 6:20 p.m. here, so it's still sun outside. But I actually have to go for a walk with the dog that's still sleeping on the couch over there. So thanks for hanging out and the talk. Hey, come back again. We like to have people in our podcast to talk about stuff and other opinions. So it's not only that guy and me talking about stuff, and we often share our opinions, but sometimes we also split a little bit. But in most cases, we are kinda on the same level with different information, so different backgrounds. So yeah, come by and hit us with your questions and your opinions. Happy to have them.
Yeah. And we basically had additional 50 minutes of what basically is supposed to be just a vent.
Yeah, exactly. And we got some info about Linux and stuff. So yeah, I guess we will have another stream about the Steam Deck in the future one day.
Basically not. Basically not until it's released.
Yeah, not anytime soon, but we will have and we will need to make another one. Just if we have more infos, and who knows what infos come out in the next 6 months or so. I guess there might be maybe production units for channels like Linus Tech to actually get their hands on, not in a safe Valve environment where they were not allowed to do as much as they wanted. They were allowed to use a dock and use a monitor, which worked pretty much out of the box. But yeah, there will be definitely another stream to cover more of that thing. So yeah, but it was definitely much longer than expected, and my camera died again. Anyway, we are at the end. So might as well show the end screen. And I'm gonna stream definitely more, but I have to take the dog for a walk for at least an hour or so.
Yeah, I didn't show my t-shirt.
Yeah, show it! And it's not mirrored. It's only me being mirrored, so I can look in Lota's direction. Does that still say CCCP on it?
I can't see it on stream.
Yeah. But that would have fit better 20 years ago, right? When was the Soviet Union broken off?
31 years ago, basically.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm almost as old as Russian Federation.
Yeah, and I still. Oh, okay. Somebody rang on the door who wants to get its package, but I'm not going on the door now when I end my stream. But I will go there when I go to get the dog for a walk. So, yeah, again, yeah, and she just woke up and stood up because she heard the door ring. All right. Anyway, thanks, Lothar, for hanging out with me and talk about
Thanks, Raiden.
stuff again. And as always, before I kick you out, famous last words.
Fuck Epic. Well, fuck Epic Games.
Bio games on GOG.
Still waiting for partnership.
Yeah, exactly. I should ask for that maybe. All right, Lothar, thanks. You have a good night because it's pretty late for you already. So
Yeah.
you take care. Have a good one, and we talk about doing our Dead Space stream another time.
Yeah.
So Lothar, thanks and bye.
Bye, everyone.
All right, and yeah, like I said, I'm definitely gonna stream more today, but that will be soonest, I guess, in about 2 hours or something like that. I will continue to play Styx, Master of Shadows, Styx, Master of Shadows. I played maybe for 1.5 hours or so. I already had playtime in it, so I cannot directly say how much time I actually have now. But I think I'm gonna play that later and finish that. So there will be no co-op stream with Baron today. He wants to understandably play Back for Blood because last week we couldn't play together. But I already played it for a few hours, and even though it's not a bad game, I definitely know 100% I'm not buying it for $60 because that's more than the first and the second would have costed when they came out new together. So each of them cost less than $30, I think. So I'm definitely 100% not buying that game. And I'm also still pissed about Evolve, which is from the same developer. So yeah. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed. And yeah, it was not as much info that I actually wanted to spread about the Steam Deck, but I ranted about it for a few hours on my stream already. And I definitely need a break now because normally I don't stream 3.5 hours without taking a break. So that's one thing. So if you want to know what's going on later, hit that notification button and you will see when I go live, and maybe follow me on Twitter because that's also where I normally announce when I go live. Alright, that being said, this was number 24 of the Digital Homicides discussional podcast stream thingy. The name will not be changed. We use that for a long time now, over 2 years already, so the third year actually. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, and time zone appropriate greetings everybody. Have a good one. Bye.